Good evening and welcome to the Boynton Beach CRA Community Redevelopment Agency's meeting today, Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 at 5:31 p.m. Alan, would you please provide us with a little introduction?
Yes, thank you, Board Chair Grant. Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and I will be providing assistance during today's meeting. Before we start, I'd like to review a few housekeeping items so the public audience knows how to participate. Your microphones have been muted to reduce background noise during this public meeting. There will be specific times during this meeting when the following options will be enabled to allow members of the public to participate. The first way is by typing their question into the questions section at the bottom of the GoToWebinar interface. Those items will be read into the record by a meeting organizer at the appropriate time. The second way is by clicking on the raise hand option. A meeting organizer will announce the speaker and unmute their audio, at which time the speaker should state their name for the record. Before speaking, please take steps to minimize any sources of background noise and speak clearly into your device during your allotted time. I will now turn control over to Board Chair Stephen Grant, who will be presiding over today's meeting.
Thank you, Alan. First, we'll have an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone please bow their head? Dear Heavenly Father and Motherly Earth, we thank you for bringing us into this meeting tonight with all of the elected officials, staff, citizens, and businesses. We look to do what's best for our city. And in your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Stephen B. Grant.
Present.
Vice Chairman Ty Pensurga.
Present.
Board Member Woodrow Hay.
Here.
Board Member Christina Romulus. I know she's here. And Board Member Justin Katz.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you. Agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? The only thing that I'd like to discuss is moving 15I to 16F so that we can talk about the tax deeds all at one time.
Mayor?
Yes.
I spoke to the city manager. My understanding is the, 15H, the interlocal is to be delayed.
She gave you that information?
Just a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if you heard.
So if we get to it and the city's not ready to prepare, we'll table it to the next meeting.
All right.
And so may I have a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a first and second. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Legal, anything new going on in the city, county, state, or country?
Not that you're not probably already aware of. We're getting ready to, as a state, to start the legislative session, and we'll be watching that for changes that would impact the CRA, and I will keep you updated on that. But to date, nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff. Board Member Katz, would you like to begin?
Thank you. Nothing to disclose at this time.
All right. Board Member Hay?
No disclosures at this time.
Board Member Romulus? All right. Board Member Romulus, if you can hear us, we are not hearing from your microphone. And so you may have to call in or re-sign in. And please let us know when your microphone is working. Vice Chair.
Yes, Chair. Regarding 15E, that's the Ocean One agenda item. I did speak with Davis Camelier and Bonnie Miskell about that. Regarding 15F, I previously disclosed that's the 115 North Federal property. I've spoken to all the applicants regarding that parcel. And I think that's it.
Thank you. As for myself, I'll repeat any of the disclosures that I made at the last meeting, and that I did receive messages from Tim Collins in regards to item 15C. That is it from. And if not, we move on.
Chair?
Yes.
Let me add the same disclosure as well. 15C, I did speak to Mr. Collins about that. And also 16A, the Dewey Park lighting. I spoke to Ms. Kim Kelly about that item as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Chair, I apologize if you all were calling me earlier. I was away from my laptop. Did you need me to make the disclosure?
That is the time right now.
Yes. I have spoken to Kim Kelly. I've also spoken to several others in terms of some of the properties that we have. That's in terms of my disclosure, that's what I have for now, and just also wanted to make sure that I was marked present. I apologize that I had to step away from my computer. Thank you.
No worries, and thank you. And yes, I did attend the Downtown Business Coalition for a Better and Brighton Boynton Beach and spoke to those business owners. If there is no more informational items, there are no announcements and awards. They're moving on to informational only. And seeing no discussion, moving on to public comments. Individual speakers will be limited to 3-minute presentations. If you would like to speak on an item on the agenda, please state so at this time. Alan, is everybody online able to raise their hand or ask a question?
Yes, Board Chair Grant, that feature has been enabled, so I'm looking in the queue right now.
All right. It seems that I do not know, I no longer have ability to turn on or off a microphone. And so I have Kim Kelly with her hand raised online.
Okay, this is Alan again. The attendee is self-muted and I have unmuted. So the microphone should be enabled.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Hello, hi. My name is Kim Kelly, coordinator of the DBC, also known as the Downtown Business Coalition, also owner of Hurricane Alley Raw Bar and Restaurant, 529 East Ocean Avenue, Boynton. Our next meeting is February 1st, Monday, and tentatively it is scheduled to be held at POPO so we can showcase the restaurant and food items. We encourage all the CRA and the CRA board to join us either in person or via Zoom. We will be sending out Zoom invites from Angel from Angel's Envy. Will be sending those out later this month. Also on our agenda next month, we want to discuss 2 social distancing events, one of Flavor the Avenue, the other one of Walk of the Avenue. We are also going to be discussing signage and lighting for our businesses, the permitting process for new and relocated business during redevelopment, a discount program for the city and the CRA workers to local DVC businesses, and also my interaction with the Economic Development Group Business Over Coffee that was held last Thursday. It was very productive and very informative. We also want to talk about a possible grant program that maybe the CRA can enact for relocating businesses during redevelopment. Our meeting is on Monday at 4:30, February 1st, and we will let you know exactly where it would be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. And Alan, is there anyone else with their hand raised or would like to ask a question?
Chair Grant, there are no hands raised at this time and there are no questions in the queue either.
All right, we do have someone from the public here that would like to speak. If you, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and if you'd like to speak on an item at that time, please let us know. I don't know if that microphone's working.
Did you press the button?
Can you press the button in the middle?
Okay, is that
Yep.
better? Perfect. Okay, my name is Tim Collins from 1022 North Federal Highway, owner of the Fish Depot Seafood Market. And I just wanted to make sure that I'll be able to speak when we come up to that item and that I'm not forfeiting that by not speaking now.
Correct. Yeah, item 15C, I'll give you the opportunity to speak. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
letting us know.
Thank you.
Alan, is there, and I don't see anyone else in the public here and no one else who has their hand raised or asked a question. So we will close public comments and move on to the CRA Advisory Board. Michael, is there anything new to report from the CRAB Board?
No, sir, not at this time. They're still working on their original assignment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving forward to consent agenda. Would anyone anyone from the board like to pull an item? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. CRA projects in progress, marketing, business promotions, and social media update.
Good evening, board, and Happy New Year. This is Renee Roberts, Social Media and Communications Specialist. Our business development team has prepared a PowerPoint to share with you from the month of December. Alan, could you please open the first attachment?
Hi, this is Alan. Yuri is going to be assisting with that in the chamber, so thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Throughout the month of December, we used our social media platforms to promote the CRA projects and local businesses located within the CRA area. Can you please move to the next slide? And continue. Perfect. Here is a brief snapshot of social media posts that were published. And each week we try to share a unique post that is related to a previous, current, or future CRA project. These are two examples of project posts that were shared in December. We used Facebook Live to provide an insider look of a unit at the new Ocean Breeze East Apartments. We also shared a post to showcase how the CRA grant dollars were used for the amazing transformation and build out that took place at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Next slide, please. Here are some examples of posts that were shared to promote businesses in the CRA area. Following the holiday lighting display on December 1st, we posted a Facebook Live video of Board Chair Grant as he spotlighted the businesses that are located in the 500 block of East Ocean Avenue. We also shared a post to promote a holiday photo event that took place at Jackie's Grooming Spa and Hotel. Next slide, please. In an effort to promote local shopping during the holiday season, we posted several posts with last-minute gift-giving ideas, such as last-minute holiday shopping for your dog, which promoted businesses like The Butcher and the Bar, Hurricane Alley, Jackie's Grooming Spa and Hotel, and Pet Supermarket. We also did a last-minute holiday shopping for your mom, which promoted Fly and Flow Fitness, The Blossom Shop, Pen Nails, and Bailey's Blends, along with other posts along the same, vein. Keep going. Next slide, please. In December, we finalized the Bon Appetit Boynton Beach campaign. Over the course of 6 weeks between November 23rd and December 28th, we posted professionally developed marketing videos that showcased how to prepare a specialty item from 6 different restaurants in the CRA area. The featured restaurants were The Butcher and the Bar, Chez Andrea Gourmet Provence, Driftwood, OK&M, Sushi Joe, and That's Amore. Each week, we showcased a different restaurant and posted a corresponding blog to provide information about the restaurant and written instructions for the recipes that were shared in the videos. Collectively, the videos received over 9,000 views on social media. Next slide, please. Social media viewers were encouraged to share, like, or comment on the post for their chance to be entered into a drawing to win one of 6 custom cookbooks, which feature the recipes for each restaurant and $150 in Boynton Beach Buck vouchers. I will now pass the microphone on to Mercedes for the remainder of the presentation. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, board. Happy New Year. Mercedes Coppin, Business Promotions and Events Manager. In December, we published 2 print ads to promote local businesses in the CRA area. The ad that's featured on the left was published in the Neighborhood News and showcased a listing of local restaurants and eateries in the CRA area. And the second ad featured on the right was published in the Coastal Angler magazine and Coastal Star newspapers. And that showcased the dock and dine availability at Banana Boat, Two Georges, and Prime Catch. Next slide, please. And one more, please. Thank you. In December, we posted the second blog in the 5-part blog series that will feature the various businesses and artists that are located in the Industrial Craft District. The blog provided a brief write-up of 11 businesses located on Industrial Avenue, as well as their contact information. And this was done in an effort to encourage residents to shop local and utilize local businesses for their service needs. The Facebook analytics show that over 150 people were reached with the blog, and we actually had someone comment on the post that they had been looking for a new mechanic and would be reaching out to Euro Auto, which is one of the featured businesses in that blog. Next slide, please. As Renee mentioned earlier in the presentation, we also published a blog for each of the businesses that were featured in the Bon Appetit Boynton Beach campaign. Next slide, please. Thank you. In an effort to provide additional exposure to new businesses in the CRA area, staff has continued to conduct virtual ribbon cuttings, which are broadcasted via Facebook Live. On December 17th, we assisted with a ribbon cutting ceremony at POPO, which is located in the 500 Ocean building. As of today, the Facebook Live video has received over 350 views. Next slide, please. Staff is working to launch the Boynton Beach Bucks initiative, which is an incentive-based program to encourage community members to visit and patronize local businesses. We released the application for the program in December, and so far we have received 10 applications for the following businesses: POPO, Guaca Go, The Sea Mist, Your CBD Store, Boulevard Paints, Bacciami, Starfish Scuba, Angel Secrets, Wave Max Laundry, and Hurricane Alley. We will be working closely with each of the businesses to determine how the program can be utilized to promote their business and encourage community members to patronize them. As an example of a Boynton Beach Bucks promotion that we are currently working on, it would be a promotion to take place at POPO. The promotion would be a weekend promotion where customers could take advantage of an offer to receive a free appetizer or dessert with a minimum purchase of $20. We would provide POPO with a custom poster that would be displayed inside of their restaurant. Customers would need to scan the QR code on the poster and complete a short survey to receive the coupon to redeem the special offer. The offer would be available on a first come, first serve availability and would be capped once 50 Boynton Beach Bucks were redeemed. This is just one example of the type of promotion that could be advertised with the Boynton Beach Bucks program. We are looking forward to working with each of the interested businesses to identify how they can best benefit from the program. And with that, that concludes the presentation. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mercedes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
you can.
Okay. How do you go about selecting what businesses to showcase? Are there any requirements?
No, sir. We sent out the the opportunity for the Boynton Beach Bucks program to our business list that we have on file. So it's about 240 businesses that are on that email list that we have. And we released that all at the same time to all the businesses. And so far, these are the businesses who have responded. But any business within the CRA area is eligible to apply for the program.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next is, and we have the social media outreach program. You went through that as well. The first quarterly report, item 13B. Mercedes?
This is Renee Roberts,
Yes.
social media and communications specialist. I do have a brief separate presentation if you would like to see it for the first quarterly report.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
Yuri, if you could, perfect. Thank you so much. Good evening, board. Renee Roberts, social media and communications specialist here again. Currently, we have 63 businesses registered in the social media outreach program. 5 new businesses were added this quarter and 53 businesses were contacted this quarter. Next slide, please. I have continued one-on-one business assistance for specific needs. Orchid Counseling Center is a new business within the Boynton Beach CRA area. I assisted Orchid Counseling Center in creating a Google listing. A Google listing allows the business to be discovered by potential clients through online search engines and helps potential clients geographically locate the business. I also assisted them in creating a business Facebook page, which further increases their search engine optimization and allows them to connect with potential and existing patients. Next slide, please. The zoo is an established business in Boynton Beach that is now under new management and recently underwent interior renovation. SMOP was able to assist the zoo in transferring the existing Google listing and social media pages to their new social media manager. In the last quarter, the zoo was able to grow their online following. The Zoo Fitness is receiving new reviews on Google, and the platform enables the manager to interact with the patrons. I also assisted them in transferring their business Facebook page, so they are now able to share gym offerings and specials. Next slide, please. And one more. ENC's Beauty Salon Experience is another SMOP business that has been receiving one-on-one assistance from the CRA. To assist in the promotion of their holiday specials, SMOP provided instruction on a free design program through canva.com. Using the online platform, ENC's Beauty Salon was able to create the attached flyer, which was distributed to their online mailing list, 500 Ocean Apartments mailing list, and Casa Costa's mailing list, along with others. Using this free design program, ENC's Beauty Salon was able to save money in production while creating a quality promotional product. This flyer resulted in 5 new clients within the month of December. Next slide, please. The CRA social media pages have performed well in the past quarter. Our Facebook page has grown by 620 followers. Twitter had over 14,000 impressions, and our Instagram has reached over 4,000 users. Our social media analytics indicate that our paid advertising performs best, which is expected, and our unpaid new business announcements continue to perform well. Our video content is the most engaging, and staff plans to use more video content in our upcoming campaigns. Next slide, please. And one more. My future projects include assisting in the development and recruitment for the Boynton Beach Bucks campaign, developing new social media strategies to assist our local businesses, assisting with the Boynton Beach strategic marketing plan, continuing our one-on-one assistance, continuing updates of the CRA's business listing, collaborations with our special events team, coordination with our grant and project manager to promote the SMOP program, continued in-person business visits, and also assistance in the creation and development of a signage program for our light industrial and manufacturing businesses within the CRA area. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Are there any questions on item 13B? Hearing none, moving forward to item 13C, CRA Economic and Business Development Grant Program Update.
Good evening, board. Bonnie Nicklin, Grants and Project Manager. We do not have any new business applicants. I spoke to 3 new businesses today, and I have several in the pipeline. So no changes from last month's report. And in the month of December, the city did not issue any business tax receipt to new businesses that were located within the CRA district. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. I did receive a request from Shack on the Tracks for the rent reimbursement program, but it seems that we are the takeaway restaurants do not qualify for the rent reimbursement. And so this is something where we may have to determine in the future, especially because of the situation that COVID-19 has put a lot of businesses in, whether to give them the opportunity for the rent reimbursement. And that's something that I don't know if the CRA board is willing to amend our current plan, but that's something that I'd be in favor for, especially because so many restaurants are now takeaway only. And hearing nothing else, we will move on to item 15A. Audited.
Chair.
Yes.
You kind of glossed over what you just said. Is that something that you'd like to bring up as like a future discussion item or something like that?
Yes, and that's kind of where if there's someone else on the board that agrees with me, we would just need one more to direct staff to kind of do a mid-year amendment for the Economic Development Grant Program.
Well, I would be in favor of having a discussion on it and kind of making sure that it's the right move to make and it's the most beneficial as well for the business owners. That would be a consideration.
Okay, sounds good. And so, Michael, did you get that information?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
so
Thank you.
Have a discussion on old business for next meeting.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
And moving on to 15A, audited financial statements, fiscal year 2019-2020, fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020. I believe their name is Richie Tandock. If you could please unmute his microphone.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm not sure if you were given a copy of my presentation, but it'll be real quick. You should have a copy of the financial statements at least.
Yes.
There's just a couple of required communications that I'd like to go over with you.
We do have your presentation.
Yes.
Do you have access to view it as well?
Yeah, perfect. So on the first page after my letter, if you could go to that, it shows the required communications on the left-hand side. That's it there. And on the right-hand side is our response. So I'll just go over the more significant communications, and the first being our responsibility under generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. We have issued an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, on the CRA's basic financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2020. We've also issued a report on the CRA's internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters for the year ended September 30, 2020. We noted no material weaknesses or material non-compliance issues therein. And both of those reports were dated December 9th, 2020. If we could go down to the last box, there's significant and or unadjusted audit adjustments. We did not identify any material audit adjustments during our audit of the financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020. That's very indicative of how organized the accounting and the records are at the CRA. If you go to the next page, under fraud and illegal acts, we are not aware of any fraud or illegal acts that occurred during the fiscal year that involves senior management or any fraud or illegal acts involving any employees that would cause material misstatement of the financial statements. Going to independence, there are no relationships between us and the agency that in our professional judgment may reasonably be thought to impede our independence. Therefore, we are independent with the agency and the city in accordance with government auditing standards, as well as the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, a professional code of conduct. We have not performed any non-audit services for the agency during the fiscal year September 30, 2020. The financial statements are prepared by the CRA, and all we do is just format it. So we don't even really prepare the financial statements. And lastly, we issued a management letter in accordance with the rules of the Auditor General of the state of Florida, which is dated December 9, 2020. And again, we didn't report any findings therein. If you have any specific questions about the audit or the financial statements, I'd be happy to address those.
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
If I
Thank you,
may,
Richie.
Yes,
good
Vicky.
evening, board chair and board members. This is Vicki Hill, the finance director. I just want to thank Richie from Sanson and Klein for coming on and giving you that report. And I also want to let you know that this is the 12th year in a row that the CRA has received a clean annual audit opinion for the financial operations of the agency. So we're excited about that. We also want to thank our accounting and finance manager, Jabara Jenkins. She worked very hard on those financials.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Jabbar.
Very good.
Chair,
Yes.
if I may be a bit long-winded here, I just want to, just commend Vicki and commend Jabari, because I remember when we first got on the council when we first got elected, and I'm gonna forget her name. If somebody can help me remember her name, whoever the previous person was, we had a 8-year streak when she left, and I just remember that we were really excited about that, and just excited about Vicki taking over and hoping that streak continues. And now 4 years later, we're on year 12 of clean audits and just a continuous just good look on our CRA and the way that we've been operating. So I just want to continue to commend our staff for their hard work, and continuing to make us as an organization and as the leaders of this board look good. So thank you, staff. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you, Jabari. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you so much, board member. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is 15B, consideration of approval of 500 Ocean performance audit for year ending December 31st, 2020 for compliance with the direct incentive funding agreement.
Good evening, board. This is Vicki Hill, the finance director again. As required under the terms of the DIFA, La Cesse Development Corp. Submitted a performance audit and proof of the property tax payment for the year ending December 31st, 2020. Based on the City of Boynton Beach Building Departments and CRA staff's review, the performance audit is in compliance with the terms of the DIFA. The developer is required to perform. So we are bringing to the board, we're asking the board to accept, this is their second year. And with the second year, they received 75%, and the rest stays with the CRA. So we are asking that the board approves the DIFA reimbursement to the developer in the amount of $435,635.
Then do we have anyone who has any questions or comments or may have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second with discussion.
Yes.
Chair, I'd like to just make a brief comment about DIFA agreements. So obviously the subject is in compliance and I support this. I have a broad question about DIFAs, and I was wondering if staff or any board member could weigh in. Obviously I wasn't there in the beginning when this was created, but how do we know that these dollar values are going into the actual redevelopment of the project? Is there some sort of mechanism to track how these funds are spent? In other words, I'm wondering how much of this is going as, as profit versus helping to build the project and keep it going. Do we know the difference? Is there a way we know that?
I believe it would be in the agreement itself. So I believe when the agreement was signed, part of the conditions for it was having the commercial properties, including the office space on the second floor. Whereas the developer said, hey, we just want to build multifamily. And the CRA board at that time says, no, we need to have commercial properties along Ocean Avenue. And the developer stated they need assistance with that. Part of the also DIFA was that they had a deadline of completion. I believe it was in 2017, and this board ended up giving them an extension into 2018. And the issue that I had of voting against is that the property improvement value doesn't get recognized until 2019. That's why it's only the second year that they get the reimbursement. But that's kind of where we are at, is that if you look at, as I've seen, the cost for a one bedroom here in 500 Ocean versus, let's say, Worthington Place on Atlantic Avenue, you're talking about a $500 difference. And now if you multiply that by the 370 rooms or 370 units or 40 units, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars less than our neighbors to the south. And so that is why, in order to get these types of projects, we need to help incentivize developers, because our rents are below Boca, Delray, West Palm Beach. And so it's kind of like, yes, this is going to their profits, but it's also to pay off the construction loans that they paid. And so I do believe that it is looking to sell, similar to how Las Ventanas sold in 2016. But this is kind of where, if we want mixed-use projects that are going to help furnish the downtown and have that density for the train station, this is why we have these DIFA agreements, because the parking garage that they built was expensive.
Understood, Chair. I guess my concern here is just, how do we keep track of the money? Because we are giving this money back for 10 years, something in that ballpark. And so part of me is wondering, well, do we need 10 years? Have they already, have we given them all the incentives they needed to make this project happen? Or is it not enough? Or, have we already made it happen? So if we have, then why continue to give them money? And so I just want to put that out there. If there was a way to get more specific calculations, because I don't think the intention, in my opinion, the intention of these grants is not for their profit. The intention should be to ensure that there is a completion of the redevelopment project. And once that's done, we're still paying them?
Correct, because this isn't our money, this is their money that they've created. So we're not paying, they're not doing it on the land value. That it's the increase of $44 million of the improvement is what they're getting 75% back for the first few years.
I understand the source.
So
yes.
this has also helped to get the financing, as I've heard from other developers, that if they have a contract, that they know that this money is coming back to them to help fund any sort of loans that they paid off. So no, I agree with you in the sense is that the CRA needs to make sure that we are using future tax incremental funding dollars wisely, and
for development purposes.
For development purposes or additional benefits such as workforce housing, environmental functions, because I do believe we do need to incentivize developers because of the reduced rents that you get here in Boynton Beach.
Absolutely. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't incentivize. I'm simply saying that we should have a better track of where the money goes, a better accounting of that. And second, that these funds should only be used for that purpose. Without better tracking, how do we know?
Chair.
But that's just my thoughts for now.
Yes, Board Member Romulus.
Throwing that out there.
If I may interject, and maybe this is, I hope I'm not making this too, I guess, simplifying this too much, but I think it just comes to the understanding of what this project is and what the TIF or DIFA or whatever we call it. There's so many different iterations, but it all means the same thing. At the end of the day, with this project, if you kind of go back into the history of 500 Ocean and where this all came from, 500 Ocean was really the first really built out development that actually happened here in Town Square. It kind of was the cornerstone, you could say, for the redevelopment of our entire downtown. And so these payments that we're making are more of a retroactive payment in terms of, the promise or the agreement was that they would build and they would front their money on the front end, build everything. And then on the back end, once the project is built and once it's developed and people are living there and all that is happening, from the tax funding, from the tax base that their project now being built out provides, we give them a percentage of that back. So in essence, this is money that they would have, always been paying to the government, but as a, incentive for building here where, compared to building in Delray or building in West Palm or building elsewhere, we give them a certain percentage of that tax revenue back as kind of a payoff. So, I think I hear your point, Vice Chair, in terms of, we definitely want to make sure we're accounting for the funds, but we don't dictate how these funds are spent. It's more so we simply just give it back to them because this was part of the agreement that they build, we give them a certain amount back over a certain period of time. And once that period of time ends, from that point forward, whatever amount in tax funding that their development generates, we keep it all. So, after, the 10th year, every penny that they generate in tax funding stays within the city, within the CRA, and we don't have to give that back. But just to make sure you understand that that's kind of how the agreement or how these TIF things work. And Mike or Chair, correct me if I'm wrong on my understanding and my delivery of what I've just said.
Yeah, no, that's correct, except, 500 Ocean wasn't the only one. We have across the street with the Promenade, which became Costa Costa Marina Village. And with Costa Costa, we did create limitations that they were not able to get the DIFA unless they had active businesses in the commercial locations. And so this is something where, we will have a discussion about DIFA that we can really create any type of conditions that we want because it's the law of private agreement, it's a contract. And so a developer is able to spend the money in ways that the CRA can't.
I understand. I appreciate both of your input. I really do. And, I understand how it works. My concern is it being used for what it should be? How would we know? And number two, I just don't want to send the message to the developer community that this is some sort of piggy bank system, right? So that's just in the back of my mind. That's just a concern because I don't want them to think that, oh, they've paid off everything that, whatever they needed to construct, all the loans, it's done, and they can keep continuing to receive funds from us for something that, was not intended. But we wouldn't know because the contract just says 10 years at these percents. It's fixed, right? In other words, it's not elastic to conditions. They get it regardless.
So correct, we had certain conditions for the development of it.
Yeah.
This is something that we could request from the city, the construction costs, how much did it actually cost for them to build? And then you also have to realize the running of a business. And there's a lot of different aspects of development that this is the reason why they were able to build in the city of Boynton Beach, because if they don't have enough anticipated revenue to pay off the construction loans, they're not going to get a construction loan.
Sure. Well, thank you to both of you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So if there's no further conversation, we can move forward with the approval. So we have a motion and a second. Is there, and hearing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those, any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Item 15C, discussion and consideration of purchase and development agreement with Boynton Beach Office Condominium LLC for the CRA owned properties located 1102-1110 North Federal Highway. And so,
Good evening, Board Chair
yes.
and Board members. Twee Shot for the record. This is the item before you, which the CRA owns two properties located at 1102 and 1110 North Federal Highway. Both properties are appraised at $342,100. Last month, the CRA, at its December 8th meeting, the board reviewed two letters of intent to purchase and develop the properties for the uses specified in the staff report. The first proposal was by Boynton Beach Office Condominium LLC. It's a joint proposal from Palm Beach Radio Group and BDH Consulting Group for a professional engineering office and a local radio station. The second proposal is from Fish Depot Market, Mr. Collins, Tim Collins, and that proposal is for a retail seafood market and cafe. The board selected the Boynton Beach Office condo proposal in furtherance of the CRA plan and directed staff to negotiate and bring back a purchase and development agreement for the approval at this board's meeting. Since December 8th, staff and our legal counsel, as well as the office condo team, has worked diligently to bring you back the draft in attachment number 7. In short, these are some of the terms that's contained in the development agreement. The purchase price of $105,000 cash, plus in-kind services at the amount of $95,000 from PBRG, which is the radio group, and $100,000 professional engineering and professional surveying services from BDH Consulting Group. There's also specific requirements for performance prior to closing. Those are contained as stated in the staff report, paragraphs 5, 6, and 21. There's also references to the economic development grant incentives that may be obtained by the CRA's commercial property improvement grant program, up to $50,000 for the project. There's also protection for the public interest through a reverter clause, as well as the first right of refusal. Those are found on paragraph 22.2 and 22. And Exhibit B on page 10. There are other obligation milestones also contained that is pertinent to the transaction. Approval of this agreement will allow the condo group to move forward with the city's development approval processes in order to close on the property. Another thing to note is, as this is below, the offer is below the appraised value. Similar to other projects, we will need to go to the City Commission for approval. I'm here for questions if there's any questions that's needed to be answered. And I believe I believe Mr. Sam Brogatinsky is also here for questions.
Okay. So the way I'd like to proceed is that we do have a request from the public to speak on this item. And so I'd like to make sure that we have as normally do, let the applicant speak first, have the board ask any questions of the applicant, allow the public to just speak, and then have the board make its final discussion. Is there any objection to that procedure?
I agree,
Okay.
Chair.
Agree.
Okay. So I guess my first question, I just forgot it, to Twee was in regards. Now, I just lost. I'm going to remember it in a little bit. So I guess if the applicant would have any questions or comments, I saw that they've already signed the document for the purchase and development agreement.
Yes, we do require that for them to agree to the terms by partially executing that, but knowing that there may be changes if subject to the board discussion or the board's review.
Okay, and I just remember what I was going to say. Is it possible, Twee, for the CRA to provide a soft second on the mortgage so that it is at appraised value.
It'd be 42,100 roughly. Yeah. Well, board, the difference in value is roughly $32,100 of the value of cash and in-kind services. The appraised value of the two properties is $342,100, and the value of the cash and in-kind is let's see, 205. It's 300,000 even. So it's, I'm sorry, it's 42,000 would be the soft second. That wasn't discussed last meeting prior to creating the document that's in front of you now and agreed to by the condo group or the purchaser, but I suppose it's something that you could negotiate now.
I mean, the aspect of it is Tweed just mentioned that we would have to wait until this goes in front of the city commission for approval before that the CRA could finally sell this. And so having the soft second, similar to what we did with South Florida Marine, makes it so that, you know, the developer isn't going to plan on selling it. It's something that, similar to our forgivable loans, that with after 5 years, they can, it can be dissolved or forgiven. The main reason why is that when we set a price below appraised value, we are readjusting the property values surrounding that area. And this is something that, you know, lowers property value, doesn't necessarily increase it. And so would want to make sure that we're selling it for at least appraised value.
Yes, sir. It would be a zero payment to the new owners. It would just sit soft, and it would either dissolve over the 5 years or remain at the 42,100 until the 5th year, and then it would go away. I can't speak for the purchaser, but that soft second is intended to do just what you said, which is to create an equal value, but not impact the financial, I guess, concerns or constraints that would, you know, put onto the new business. So it would be up to, obviously, the condo association to agree to that. As long as I want to make sure they understand that it's not a loan that has to be paid. It just sits silent and it forgives after the 5 years.
Thank you. And so that was my question for the, I guess, the applicant as well as the CRA staff. Does anyone else from the board have any questions or comments before the applicant has a presentation or any questions for us?
She turned on.
Okay, I'm not hearing any. So does the applicant, you know, I made a proposal that was not included in the discussions because the offer was below appraised value. And
Board
so,
Chair, I do see him in attendance.
But his microphone's not.
I don't see his microphone. I mean, you may have the ability to see it.
no, I do no longer have the ability to see whose microphone is on or muted.
Board Chair, this is Alan. I have unmuted Samuel Rogatinsky's microphone. Is that the individual you want to unmute?
Yep, that's
okay.
me.
Okay, and before you begin, pardon me, one more interruption. There's another hand raised. Michael Rump has his hand raised. I don't know if it's in reference to this item, but I just wanted to let you know.
So I'll ask if our building up, is his hand no longer raised?
That's correct. The hand is no longer raised. Thank you.
Okay. So if Mr. Rogatinsky is willing to respond.
Hi, good evening, board, and thank you for having us on this evening. I just heard your proposal regarding a soft second in that amount, and we are 100% fine with that.
Okay, thank you. And that's kind of it. And did you have any questions or concerns regarding the purchase and sale agreement? You're okay with the timeline and the reverter clause?
Yes, we're okay with it. We went over it all this last few weeks, and we intend to be there. You know, we intend to be there for many, many years, so it's not an issue.
Okay. And so if there's no further comments or questions from the applicant, I'm going to allow our request from the public to speak. Mr. Collins. We'll, it's not necessarily public hearings, but we're going to put the 3-minute timer on just so that you know how long you've been speaking.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think I'll request 3 minutes. There's a couple things.
Make sure to speak into the microphone.
Yeah, there's a couple things that have come that, when you're in these meetings and you're speaking to the public for the first time, your mind's going a million miles a minute. And after watching the videos and then going back through a lot of stuff, there's a couple things that I'm not sure that we're 100% correct the night that we had to vote on this property. In all reality, the first letters of intent that came in August, they were just for the 1110 property, and they were competing. Okay, my letter of intent came in for 1102 and 1110. Okay, for both properties, the very beginning of November. And at that meeting, we spoke about it in the November meeting. And then they subsequently following that, they formed a committee and resubmitted their letter of intent after mine for the 2 properties. And I know that there's weight being given to whose letter of intent came in first. So in all reality, for 1102 and 1110 combined, my letter of intent was actually the one that was in first. Okay, and I was in for, above property value, and willing to pay at least the full appraised value, if not more, for the property. And, there was really no weight given to any of that. And I had, I came back a week later with the funding commitment in place because I was challenged on that. I was called out on the SBA loan of a local lender that I've done multiple loans with, bought a liquor license that he funded. That gave me a full funding commitment for it. In the meeting, there was a voice vote of 3-2, but then afterwards, now it shows that it was a 5-0 unanimous vote for that, which I don't understand how the politics of that all works. And I'm just really I'm still not really sure how all this happened and how we're going to go ahead and approve this for $100,000 cash to make it all happen. Lastly, I had reached out when I first submitted all these things to Commissioner Hay via voicemail and sent him an email, and I've never even had a response. He's never even been as my commissioner in either one of my businesses to introduce himself as my commissioner for the North Federal, this section. And I'm just still trying to process how this whole thing ended up the way where we're at. I would request another vote on the whole process. And I will be back next week to request that you don't accept the proposal and that we move forward with the project that we had, which was the first one in line. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. I can say that the CRA board has full capability to take whatever offer they want to have. If it is under appraised value, then that has to go to the city to approve of it.
Okay.
And as we heard today, that the applicant is willing to make it so that it is not less than appraised value, so there will not be a hearing in front of the city, Boynton Beach.
To an extent, it's $105,000 cash to the city. That's
it's
what
to
it
the
comes
CRA.
down to. To the CRA.
And so the issue that you have is that the CRA board has the ability to do whatever they like with it.
Absolutely. No, it's not so much an issue. It just.
And so it's correct. The fact is that the CRA board had decided that this applicant has met with the criteria. They feel the businesses of an engineering firm and a radio station will add benefit to the CRA and the surrounding properties. And unless one of the board members decides to vote against it, we're here moving forward with the current project as it stands with the amendment as I stated today.
So what I'm hearing is that at the 3-2 vote, if one
there
of the
there was never a 3-2 vote.
Well, on the video, it shows that there were 3 people voted for it and 3 people didn't, and that's.
There was a unanimous.
It was a unanimous vote. There was a 3-2 discussion of what they would like to do. However, the CRA board decided that they would vote unanimously. So anyone on the board can reconsider their vote or end up end up not approving of the purchase and sale agreement with the amendment of a soft second. But those are the options.
And how does that process work?
We will have a first and a second, a motion and a second of that motion, and then we'll have a vote on the approval.
Okay, and then there's a city commission meeting to the following to decide.
Not if the applicant agrees to the buying it at the appraised value, but it's with a soft second mortgage, so there will be no additional funding to the CRA.
Because I thought that you said that it could be, there was a final city commission meeting.
That would be only if the board decides not to have a soft second on it, and because the current offer is below the appraised value.
Okay.
And Tara, is that correct? Or Tweet?
Hi, Board Chair. This is.
Go ahead, Tara.
Hi, Board Chair. Staff and I discussed this today, and just because of the in-kind, I agree with you that it doesn't necessarily require city approval, but I had recommended to staff, because of the in-kind donations, just in an abundance of caution, to put it on the agenda nonetheless as a ministerial act. I'd still recommend that because I believe it was able to be placed on the agenda next week. But certainly that doesn't stop this board from moving forward with approving the contract with any revisions, and it won't need to come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
There's three options that you have on the screen.
Correct.
So you can approve, or you can, the top one and the bottom one, obviously you can approve, or you can reject.
Yep.
So my request was for you guys to reject it and go back to looking at what we were going to do there.
All right, thank
As
you.
being more attractive towards what the CRA wants, drawing people to the corner instead of a building that's going to sit there with a couple of employees in it and not have any value for people to stop and visit a business for a reason. There's no draw there, but that's, you guys are going to vote on that now.
All right, thank you. And so for the board, you have my revisions for the soft second so that it is at the appraised value. And so if there's no further comment, I would request a motion as much for that revision. Yes.
For the sake of clarity and to make sure that what the previous speaker has, I guess, verbalized, because I remember things differently in terms of the order of letters of intent coming in. So if Mike or the CRA attorney could clarify the order of how things came in, that way it could be all set straight for the record. That's what I would like to hear before we finalize the vote.
Yes, board member. There are several things that were mentioned at the desk that are from the speaker that are not necessarily accurate. One being that we don't have record of receiving any type of loan information or anything else other than a public request from him after the meeting that he presented to you. With regard to letters of interest, I think the board chair summarized it well in that the CRA board and the CRA as an entity, in an unsolicited receipt of a letter of interest, there is no first or second or eighth or 10th. The board has the option of entertaining whichever letter of interest or unsolicited proposal they feel benefits the CRA or the CRA plan. So unlike an RFP or an RFQ that has specific deadlines and requirements, the letter of interest process, especially that it's being unsolicited, is less restrictive and more in favor of the CRA board and the decision making of the body itself. So if that helps you with regard to the timeline or what have you, I think that's how I would answer that question. If you have another one, we're happy to go further.
And board member Romulus, just to add to that for you, this is Tara Dewey. The timing was we received the two letters for the 1102 property. We, at the time of receipt of those letters, did not own the 1110 property. At the discussion,
I'm
So
sorry.
did I get those reversed, Twee?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. When we received and discussed the property that we did own and the 2 letters of intent that were received, it was made known that that property was likely to be come into the hands and ownership of the CRA, and it was determined that those parties would be interested in participating in a shared business opportunity for the purchase. After that meeting, we did receive additional letters of intent for both properties. I believe, I'm not entirely sure, Mike can correct my timeline, whether we owned that second property at the time of receipt, but certainly the two entities that you are contracting with tonight submitted the interest in the property. That was the first letter of intent we received for the property we owned, and they let us know of their interest at that night of discussion for the second property. And I did not describe that very clearly, so I have probably confused you more than I've helped you. Sorry about that.
And all of this, board chair and board members, are documented in your attachment 6. Because the minutes of the meeting was unavailable at time of staff writing the report, we decided to upload all that was in there, and there in the cover has detailed dates of when we received all the letters of interest and any revisions thereof. So Tara summarized it pretty well. November 6th was when Mr. Tim Collins submitted his letter of interest, and we received the second parcel a little before that, but the board did not accept that until November 10th, as indicated in the staff report.
And then finally, just for the board's benefit, I just want to concur that you do have flexibility to move forward with any letter of intent that you receive. It is, as Mike and the chair have articulated, there is no requirements of submittal dates or what have you when you receive unsolicited offers for property that the CRA owns.
Thank you all for the clarification, and I already knew all of this. I just wanted to make sure it was stated for the record, because it just felt that there was some just changes in what I knew and I specifically remembered occurring. And I wanted to make sure we corrected all that for the record. So thank you. That is all I have. Chair, if you're looking for a motion, I move to accept.
Do you, as amended with the revisions for the soft second, or as stated?
As amended
Chair,
with.
Yes.
For the motion, can you articulate a little more clearly the terms that you would like incorporated? Because we don't want to have to bring it back with any questions. So I think I understood that the terms of the soft second would be for a 5-year period, after which it would expire, no payments due. If there are any other details, could you please add them for the motion?
No, I believe that is it.
Thank you.
I do have a question for just clarification, since I am the maker of the motion. In the event that some sale were to occur within the 5-year period, it simply just means that they would have to pay the full balance of the $42,000, correct?
Correct.
Okay, there is no like diminishing amount over the years.
No.
Correct. Okay, just making sure. Thank you. So I move to accept the purchase and sale agreement with a silent soft second in the amount of, what is the amount, Chair? Or
I believe it's $42,100.
$42,100.
$42,100.
Okay.
Hold on, if they sell within the 5, if they flip this property, do they have to pay the full in-kind?
Yes.
So they would have to pay up, they would have to come up with the cash to pay the full in-kind.
Plus we
balance of the full in-kind plus a soft.
Yes.
Okay.
And Tara, is that correct? If the property is sold before, is flipped, they would still have to either pay for the in-kind or.
Board Chair, we have a first right of refusal in the sale. If it occurs within the 5-year period, and after that, obviously they own the property in full. repayment to the CRA would only be as it relates to the soft second. The way the agreement is written, they don't owe the CRA 105 plus in kind plus the soft second. You are the only payback restriction at this point is the soft second for the $42,100. The document is not written.
That's not, from what he was saying is that, let's say all the in-kinds have not been paid back. Are they going to owe the in-kinds to us if they sell within the first 5 years?
If we don't buy it from them, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tara, I'll be quiet.
No, the in-kind is consideration for purchase of the property. That is a requirement that they have to provide to you. Whether or not they sell it, it's like a mortgage. They will still have a contractual requirement to provide you those services. If you want to put a 5-year time limit on that, we can. I don't know if that's been discussed with the purchasers, but they're on the line and can agree to that. We can definitely put a 5-year deadline in there and say that if it hasn't been provided in that period of time, they will have to pay that back. But it will be required, notwithstanding whether they sell or not.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
They have 10 years worth of in-kind promises.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
So that would be the question to the applicant if their microphone is unmuted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We're fine with that. We're not going anywhere.
So the statement is that within the 5 years, the in-kind is going to be repaid, and if not, that amount owed is owed to the CRA. Is that correct, Tara?
Yes, we can articulate that in the agreement.
Services. Tara, may I ask for clarification? What they're responsible for providing us is the value of in-kind, not in cash, correct?
They're about what I believe the mayor is asking to amend the agreement to say, and he can tell me if I'm wrong, is to have it be that the in-kind services are to be provided within a 5-year period. If not, that converts to a cash debt to the CRA.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Board Chair.
Yes, Mr. Board Member Hay.
Can you kind of review for me, Mike, what the reverter clause? Where does that kick in now?
So there's a development timeline, and if the development timeline is not met, then the reverter clause is kicked in. The timeline ends with after I think a building permit is issued, they have 24 months to build the building. Tara, if you want to provide the clause.
Yeah, please do.
I'm pulling up the agreement. Just give me one moment, please.
Notices. So it is section 21 of the development timeline. So it states how much time that they have to seek a site plan approval from the city. It states a certain amount of time that the site plan has to be approved by the city. It has to states that the approval of financing of the project before the site plan is approved. There is a lot of different timelines with that a certificate of occupancy must be approved within 24 months of building permit issues. And so it is stating that within anywhere from 2 to 3 years, a building will be constructed. Otherwise, the reverter clause will be in effect.
And to be clear, Board Member Hay, that is independent of the purchase price and in-kind consideration, because the reverter clause requires that in the event the seller exercises its right of reverter, seller shall reimburse purchaser the purchase price of the property. So if we have not received the in-kind services at that point, then that they would be null, and we would return the purchase price.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And so, Tara, did we amend the motion a little bit, or in regards to having the 5-year limitation on the in-kind?
Yes, I believe that the two amendments are to have a soft second that is repayable, that will stay with property for 5 years, and fade once it is once those 5 years pass and the property hasn't been sold. And the in-kind services must be provided within 5-year period, or it will convert to a cash requirement.
And Board Member Romulus, is that your motion?
I kind of got lost in all the sauce, but I'm pretty sure it's still the same that I made originally, correct, Tara?
Yes.
Okay. Then yes, that is still my motion.
Okay. And do I have a second?
Bree?
Yes, hi. I just want to add, Chair, if you could also add to authorize the chair to sign it subject to final legal review. That way we would not have to come back. We would have you sign for the board.
So move with that addition and language.
Thank you, board member.
All right. So, Tara, please confirm we have revisions to the purchase and sale agreement to add a soft second with additional language requiring a 5-year period of in-kind donations to be provided. Otherwise, they turn into cash. And that any agreement is subject to legal's approval.
Correct. To the final legal, it will be signed. You may sign it after we make these changes and approve they meet your motion.
All right. And now, do we have a second?
Yes. Second.
Was that you, Board Member Hay?
Yes.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed state so by saying nay. Nay. I don't know if I got Board Member Katz or Board Member Romulus's vote.
You have an aye from me, Chair.
Okay.
Aye as well.
All right. Motion passes 4-1.
Mayor?
Yes.
Chair, may I make a brief comment?
Yes.
I just want to say I appreciate Mr. Collins coming here today because he is fighting to be in the city, and he's mentioned that he may have to leave, and I don't want him to leave, and I'm pretty sure none of us want you to leave Boynton Beach. So, as I mentioned, this was a unanimous vote previously. It is what it is. We are where we are. I want to keep as many of these businesses here in the city, and so I just want to say to you, sir, thank you for coming. And second, to the rest of the board, if there is anything we can do to help Mr. Collins in the near future to stay in Boynton Beach, let's do that. There is plenty of room in this city for everybody.
Okay,
Yes.
and I accept your graciousness and your kindness and your acknowledgement. And I'm here not just as fighting for the property for myself. I'm here fighting for Boynton Beach, that you guys are actually getting a fair deal for the city and making, that's what it's here. That's what it's all about. To make sure that everything's, is fair and that the city's getting the best value for what's going on, whether it's the property that I want or it's a property somebody else wants. And that's what we're all here. And that's why we're joining a downtown business coalition. That's why we're doing the things we're doing. And, and somebody has to be there to hold people to account. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. Whether we can keep it here in Boynton or not, I'm not sure. We've had discussions about some potentials, but, I don't really I've been here 7 years and I've got 2 businesses here. So and I don't necessarily want to leave Boynton Beach either, but, it is what it is, I guess. At this point, you've made your motions and you've approved it. And, I have to move on with whatever I got to do. But I do appreciate, do appreciate your time, and I do appreciate your acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to, is there any further comments from the board before we move to the next item? Hearing none. Item 15D, update and discussion on the redevelopment proposal submitted by Boynton Beach Cottage District Development LLC for the Cottage District Infill Housing Redevelopment Project.
Yes, board chair and board members. This item is being brought to you as an update on the activities between CRA staff and the selected developer for the Cottage District request for proposal and qualifications for the construction and development of infill workforce housing on the CRA-owned property located in the block of Northeast 4th and Northeast 5th Avenues on North Seacrest Boulevard. I just really, it's kind of just a very quick and simple update from the board selection of the Boynton Beach Cottage District LLC at their December 8th meeting. We have had several calls with between myself and the lead counsel for the Boynton Beach Cottage District, CRA staff and team members of the BBCD LLC have met virtually on the 17th. And we also had a pre-application meeting with the city's redevelopment team, review team on the 28th of December. So we've really, given the holidays, I think we're very active between the two parties, trying to get a little bit of information between us, and also to be able to do a pre-app during that week of the new year was great to have enough staff to do it. The city's team has provided some direction to the Boynton Beach Cottage District LLC, the developer, on some requirements that the site plan that they proposed and submitted will need to address. The development team is actively working to address those concerns or requirements, not concerns necessarily, but requirements that the city revealed to them during the pre-app meeting. And it is our hope that we will be able to bring back those changes or revisions based on city direction at the February meeting. Unless there's anything that you would like specifically to know or to have for next month, that's the update at this point.
Thank you, Michael. One of the questions that I have is regarding the roads that are being built. If it's going to be owned by the project, or is it going to be owned by the city? And I'd look into how Ocean Breeze West, if that project owns the roads and it's part of that community land trust, I would want something similar to the Cottage District. But if the city owns the land, or owns the roads there, I'd like to get that information for the next meeting, because one of the main concerns that I have is that if we offer this without an association, that means it's completely fee simple. We may have the workforce housing as part of the deed restriction, but that wouldn't limit, I guess, a lot of the other different types of activities that are going on. And so I think I'd like staff to come back if we are having a workforce housing restriction on the deed, and what does that mean?
Yes, sir. We'll bring back those two items, including all the other terms that are going to be discussed at the next meeting, which may generate additional discussion on terms based on that presentation next month. But these are important, and I appreciate you bringing those up.
And then, yeah, I'm excited also for the playground. What are they thinking about that? If they have any updates on that, or the pocket park. And I'll ask the board if there's any other comments or questions that they have regarding the Cottage District.
No questions, Chair, not at this time.
Thank you. I do appreciate the non-response, the response in the negative versus silence. It kind of lets me know that you heard me.
Okay. Okay.
And seeing none, we will move on to item 15E, Purchase and Development Agreement Status on Ocean One Boyden LLC.
Yes, Board Chair and board members, this item is brought to you with relationship to the Ocean One project and the purchase and development agreement between the CRA and the the Ocean One development for the acquisition of the 222 North Federal Highway property that was previously owned by the CRA and sold to the developer on January 16, 2018. You will see that we received a letter on January 5th from Ms. Bonnie Miskell, who represents the Ocean One Boynton LLC, requesting that an extension on the commencement of construction of the public plaza that was an obligation of the developer to begin construction on January 16, 2021, which is, I guess, it would be 4 days from now. So in addition, there is reference in the letter to the developer evaluating the benefits of the tax increment incentives that fall under the tax increment revenue agreement associated with the development on that property, and their desire to essentially let that deadline, which would be also January 16, 2021, expire and not request an extension of the TURFA. I believe that Ms. Miskell or Mr. Kamler may be present in the audience if either of them would like to speak.
Good evening, members of the board. This is Bonnie Miskell.
Before you begin, I just would want to give the opportunity of the board to make any comments before we give you an opportunity to speak. If that's it. My comments in regards to this is similar to what Vice Chair was saying, is that why are we giving these TIFRA agreements to developers? It's, and this is an example where we thought we gave enough TIFA to get the financing, get the project moving, and the developer says it wasn't enough. And, we don't know their final numbers, if they were going to make a profit or they were going to, because I don't think that they were going to build the project at a loss. And so that's kind of where, if they're only making 1%, that's kind of a slim margin for them to move forward with a project that costs tens of millions of dollars. My vision is that this is a longtime property owner in the city of Boynton Beach. They have worked with the city for our kinetic arts. If we need additional parking, they have, maintained the property after we told them, after they allowed us to use it. And so, that's something with the TURFA agreement that if we wanted to say, hey, we can give you tax incremental funding, but we'd also like to have a purchase of the property across the street, also known as the boardwalk. This is something that we can do. And so, the first contract negotiations did not work out. We do have leverage in the sense that a park is to be built by January 1st or January 16, 2022. And we have the ability to modify that obligation, hopefully to get a better project. But that's something where we are at now with the CRA. So, Bonnie, thanks for allowing me to speak first, and I'll ask the board if there's anything that they have any comments before you go.
Not at this time, Chair.
Thank you.
Mayor, I agree with your sentiments, and I'm open in hearing the applicant now.
All right, thank you. Ms. Miskell?
Yes, thank you very much. Happy New Year and good evening, members of the board. Unfortunately, Mr. Camilleri was unable to participate tonight. He's dealing with a matter back in Washington or in the DC area, so he was unable to join us. But I'm also joined by one of the venture partners, Brian Benninghoff, and Mike Ross, in the event you have questions for them. And I won't go into a great amount of detail. Obviously, this is greater than 4 years in the working. And we, in all efforts to be transparent, rather than attempt to extend the tax increment revenue funding agreement again, when the numbers didn't work shortly after it was approved, unfortunately, doesn't make a lot of sense. Also with, and I know it's one of your next items, with the CRA's interest in doing something across the street and my client owning a piece of property in the vicinity of the CRA parcel, there may be some opportunities where this effort or exercise can be collaborative and actually be more than we expected on either side in and of itself. So we have gone back to the drawing board, and our client is hoping through our work with the CRA staff and the CRA board to come back with something that will be viable and that will work for both the CRA and also the landowner. Just to give you one last bit of background, and Mayor, you alluded to it, when we went forward with this entire package, the site plan came in about a year in advance of the purchase and sale agreement and the TIF agreement, but the entire package was really designed and negotiated on one fundamental basis. My client had a consultant on the deal that had secured, or so we thought, financing to underwrite this project. And so what we asked for of the CRA then was based on that underlying belief that it could be underwritten. And shortly after the TIF agreement and the purchase and development agreement were approved, very shortly thereafter, we learned that the financing fell through. So at that point, my client pursued other ways of underwriting the project and did so for, really the next 2 years until COVID hit. He does have a partner now, and we have some ideas, and Mike and I have, I know my client's spoken to Mike already, but he and I will be speaking very soon. We think it's better to come back with something that is real and that will end up coming out of the ground. So hence the reason for requesting that we just let the TIF agreement die. Unfortunately, maybe a slow death, but a death nonetheless. As to the purchase and development agreement, we would be required to commence construction of the strip of property on the north side of his site, which was previously CRA-owned property with a park. We're simply requesting 6 months to work out perhaps that collaborative discussion on both the east and west sides of Federal Highway and come back to you with a different package. So that's the request before you this evening. And again, I'm joined by Mr. Benninghoff and Mr. Ross. We're happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Is there any questions from the board?
Chair, I just need clarification on what can, just as succinctly as possible, what is the exact ask?
We're not, if I can respond, Mr. Chair, we're not exactly sure yet, but the CRA may want to utilize my client's property with redevelopment on the west side, at which my client may participate in. And there may be an opportunity for collective parking to be applied on both sides of the street. We're not exactly sure, but what we like to do is come up with something in the next 6 months and re-present it to you, whether it's in concept or in full. I doubt that we could develop a site plan and present that through the city's process and come back to you, but we certainly can do it in concept. And I know my clients has had discussions with each of you separately with other options. That's just a couple that have been shared with me. So really, this is kind of the starting point, Commissioner Romulus. Oh, and we are really here to work with you and see if there's a way for us to get more accomplished than we intended back in 2017 and 18.
Chair, this is Tara Dewey. I would like to just clarify for the board. So recall on this project, there are two separate documents. One is the tax incentive agreement, the TIRFA, as we refer to it. And I believe that the developer is asking for that to just terminate on its own at the end of this month. The second agreement is the purchase and sale agreement for the CRA owned property. As part of that agreement, there was a requirement that if development did not commence within the timeline set forth, the developer would begin construction on a public plaza as set forth in the agreement. The request is for the CRA to waive, I believe, that requirement for 6 months, which date I can figure out there. But so that's the technical request, to waive that requirement for 6 months for them to commence construction of the public plaza on the previously CRA owned property. And again, that's a provision of the purchase and sale agreement.
All right, thank you. Bonnie, my comments is that when the property was given, I believe maybe it was for $5,000, $10,000 dealing with certain title fees or attorney costs, was significantly below the appraised value for that location. And so for the extra 6 months, I'm okay allowing for an extra month, but it's kind of, what is the consideration? If your property owner wants to make the public, the parking lot kind of attractive and open to the public, so that people that want to use the marina on behalf of the CRA can use that, because Marina Village kind of gets full, and that's something that I would feel is definitely consideration if that if the parking that is available at that site is made open to the public. And if that's okay, I'm happy to give the 6 month extension for that. And if you could come back, I guess, next month with the property owner's response to that.
Well, I think I could probably jump in now, because Mr. Camilleri has consistently allowed special events to park on his property over the past several years, well before 2017. So I really don't believe he'd have any objection, and Mike Ross can weigh in as his representative. The only concern that I would have as an attorney is liability. And so if we're allowing other businesses and property owners to park, we'd like to coordinate some, insurance policy or something that would cover him in the event there was damage. And if Mike wants to weigh in, perhaps the CRA has a program that would cover such use, at which point I don't think we'd have any objection at all.
It would more or less, I don't know the legal aspect of it, but yes, no, the insurance would be required, and that's kind of the consideration that I'm requesting, because we're trying to get something done, and that's the main goal. I know that the world is very different than 4 years ago, 2017, 2018, when this kind of project started, and that's where I'd like to see movement forward of making that better Boynton Beach. And so that was my request for consideration. If the property owner has another type of consideration to be given, whether it be some funding for the town square project and funding for enhanced beautification enhancements. I know that we're planning on doing some work, the city and CRA, on the Boynton Beach East Extension. That's kind of where I'm not demanding that the parking lot be used, but I am requesting some consideration for to figure out what's delaying the commencement construction, because the reason why we're delaying commencement construction is because the property owner does not want to start construction. And as you know, with contract terms, if we're modifying a contract, consideration is normally the best thing to help both parties solidify any sort of amendments to the contract.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
2 points. My understanding is that the reason why this applicant is requesting a delay is because they are working to create a new proposal, a new master plan for the site. And if we proceed with the park, then we would be occupied. That park would then be in the way of that future project, whatever that may be. That's my understanding. It's not that they didn't want to build. They wanted some leeway to build that new updated. That's my understanding. I'm just relaying.
Yeah, no, it's a concept of money, because it would cost money to build the park, and then it would cost money for them to tear down the park that they just built to build the project.
Yes, that is obviously.
And so we're not saying that they have to build the park if the project doesn't go forward. However, they don't have to have the park once the project gets started. If I'm correct.
And the second point, Chair, is that I do support your request for consideration on the parking. I think that's a fantastic idea.
So, as for the CRA, Bonnie, I'm happy to see if there is some sort of agreement that we can have. Being a government agency and having sovereign immunity, it definitely provides us with, I would say, some limit to liability, but it's, you can't indemnify everything.
Perhaps, well, certainly I know my client had no objection previously, so I don't suspect he would today, and he had intended to be on this call. So I really don't believe there will be a problem there. And what we can do is Mike and I think have a meeting set for later this week. We'll talk about what our options are, and then we'll work out some documentation in accordance with that. But I really don't believe my client will have a problem, and he would otherwise.
Spaces in.
I'm hearing two people speak. Is that correct?
Sorry. So I'll just finish my thought and close. We'll get it worked out, and he does appreciate your staff and the board's patience and support up to now. And he is a longtime resident or property owner in the city, and has all the interest in the world in making Boynton a better place to live and play. So our goal is to come back with a revised plan that may be inclusive of both sides of Federal Highway, but at a minimum will be economically viable, and something that we hope you will support as much as you did, if not more so, the past one. And if you'd like us to come back at the next meeting with something put together in writing and submitted to your attorney's satisfaction and your satisfaction, I'm happy to do that as it relates to parking, use of the site for parking.
Thank you.
Free parking. Is that what your intention was?
That is currently what I'm saying. I don't know. We haven't had a discussion here regarding the CRA having an interlocal agreement with the city for their parking authority. So yes, it currently be free parking. However, if the CRA through an interlocal agreement with the city, it could be turned into paid parking. And in relaying to the aspect of consideration, it's kind of like, I know that your time's not free as well, Ms. Miskell, and so it's kind of in the sense is that we are asking. I know that the developer or property owner has been working with the city. It's just we'd like to see something moving forward, because as you can see, the past 3 years there really hasn't been much moving forward. And I'll weigh on anybody on the board if they have any other comments to the property owner for next meeting.
Chair, I'll just weigh in here, and my comments, I'll reserve them. I'll keep them light, understanding that partnerships dissolve and relationships, form and then dissolve, and I believe that's the situation really that's happening here. And so
it's not, our place to opine on relationships. It's our place to, get what was promised delivered. And, being that the timing right now is off, I guess due to whatever situations occurred internally within the people who were part of this project, I'm willing to allow for this temporary just kind of stall as they reconfigure. But what I do want to make sure I say is that for a very long time, the residents of Costa Costa, the residents of Marina Village have been staring at this just ugly, nasty parking lot, and they're, along with the other residents of the area in the Federal Highway corridor. This has been an eyesore for a while, and we're waiting for something to get done. And so, for the sake of making that very clear, that is what I believe my colleagues are looking for in a very timely fashion. And, we've seen delay after delay and extension after extension. And in my personal opinion, I'm not going to be agreeable to further extension. So I'm imploring, Ms. Miskell, along with the applicant, to, please get something going, because this has been something very long in the making. And, these extensions are not a good look in terms of our ability as a board to get people to agree to what we've asked them to. And if we continue to, appease these extensions and these, just continuations of these deadlines, that I don't believe it sends a strong message of this board and what we want or what we're looking for. So, in my personal opinion, I'm speaking for myself here. This is the last extension that I'm willing to offer or give. And I hope that we will move in a direction where we can actually start seeing something tangible in terms of plans and forward movement from this developer and their team. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
And then I guess the board, the big thing is that having discussion at next meeting is that I do believe that a turf agreement is needed to get this project to moving under the ground. Is that what are we looking for? Part of the original turf agreement was that we were the CRA was going to get 50 parking spaces, and so it's kind of having that discussion as the CRA board is that what do we want from developers, so that they can build the project and that we can add into the project, because part of that turf is that the developer is fronting the money and that we are paying them back over the 8 to 10 years with their tax that would come to the CRA. So, Bonnie, do you have, I guess, direction to see if the property owner is willing to have some sort of consideration? I believe that we do have Board Member Ramos. Is that your motion for the 6 months extension?
No, not necessarily. I think what I'm more leaning towards is what you were mentioning in terms of coming back within a month or two with something more tangible. And then we can at that time discuss whether or not a full 6 months is where we need to go, or if there's other things that we can do. So I'm not necessarily in agreement with stalling for another 6 months. I'd prefer the applicant come back in about 60 days or so and present something more tangible.
So what I would request, and Tara, if you can confirm, that we will not proceed any sort of legal action to commence construction before the next meeting, which would be in February, and that we would hear back from the applicant, or not the applicant, the property owner, with any sort of discussion of what they're looking to do. I know that they're also looking at the CRA's property on 115 North Federal, and I do believe that the collaboration of the bigger property size will make things easier for development rather than harder. So I'm looking forward to hearing back from you next month.
That would be fine.
And so, Tara, is that correct? All we have to do is
Yeah,
not.
yeah, I think you can just say you will waive that requirement until the next board meeting
And would
for a
we need a
period of 30
motion for
days. Yeah, I think it would be good to have a motion and a vote.
that? Okay. So may I have the motion to waive the requirement for the next 30 days?
Chair,
Yes.
just to clarify before we make the motion, I'd like to ask this question to the attorney in regards to the TIF agreement and just letting that go or not no longer. What does that mean exactly? And what does that mean for us? Does that just mean we just let it go? I want to make sure we're clear on that.
I don't know if any action is
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, the TIRFA agreement will automatically expire on the 16th, I believe is the date. Just to be belts and suspenders, because I like to do that, I will probably bring it back as part of the agenda item, since the developer will be coming back for you to take a formal motion to terminate it. But it will naturally expire on the termination date.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. And may I have a second for the waiver of 30 days or till the next, Tara, do we want to say to the next CRA board meeting or 30 days? Because
I would specify the February board meeting, February 2021 board meeting.
Okay, so I just want to clarify with the movement that is your will for the motion to be a waiver till the next CRA board meeting.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to waive the requirement until the next board meeting in February.
And do we have a second?
Okay.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Thank
All
you
those
all.
opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll see you next month.
All right, thank you. Discussion and consideration of terms for an RFQ for the CRA-owned property located at 115 North Federal Highway. Before we begin with this isn't something I necessarily want to talk about because I believe part of our request was to get answers back from the county, from the city. What exactly do we want to do with this project? Do we need to speak to the South Florida Transit Authority? Do we want to speak to Palm Tran? Because we want to make this somewhat of a hub for transportation. And so I feel like we need to have a response from the county and the South Florida coastal region in order to make things better. Because the fact is that this is the center point for two Brightline stations in West Palm Beach and Boca Raton. So it may not be in the foreseeable future to have a train station being developed. However, the ability to have a bus depot to go the 20 minutes north and south is something that's very viable. And so I think that's something that we need to consider and understand with the different government organizations before we move forward with issuing an RFQ.
Chair.
Yes.
Is there something that prevents us from having this I agree with what you're saying. I don't understand why that needs to happen first before we can provide input on what the RFP might look like. Is there something?
No, that's something that I would say that before we issue the RFP.
Oh, before issuing, I think.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where, having the discussion before having all the information is normally not the best course of action. And so, but no, I mean, for me, it's kind of the one big key requirement is making sure that this is a transportation hub.
Absolutely.
And however, I know that we all like a train station. However, it may be more feasible because we do have the two bus routes of 73 and 1 right by here. And so this is something that, we'll have to consider moving forward, because I believe the 73 route used to go through this location. before when it did not end up at the Tri-Rail location. So this is something that we may want to have it swing by, and also the one so that it is more of a bus depot instead of a bus stop. But I'll open it up to the board if they'd like to move forward with any further discussions for the RFP, RFQ.
Yes.
Yes, Board Member Hay.
I sort of feel that, you know, I hear good ideas coming from each and every board member. And this, as you stated earlier, is a long-term, whatever decision that we make, it needs to be as close to the right decision as possible. I guess I would like to hear more of the ideas coming from each and every one of us, that what we want to go into that RFP. I mean, we got whether there would be a garage, or in lieu of the fact that we talking about a town square garage, you know, the extra parking, whether we want workforce housing, etc. Do we want a grocery store, a business incubator? There's a lot of things that needs to be discussed as a team. And I just feel that even though I don't like them, but we may ought to consider a workshop between now and our next meeting, just to discuss in detail some of these ideas that I hear from each of you, and some of the ones that I have too. So we'll know what we want in that RFP, and then we can give it to the developer. Right now, it seems to me that we just take what they all come up with and then try to make a decision on the fly without really finding out from each of us what is it that we're looking for in terms of, you know, how what do we want there? And I think if we work a little bit closer as a team, we will come up with the right decision. So I just think we're not in a hurry for this, as far as I'm concerned. And if we just do nothing right now as far as the RFP is concerned, and have a workshop, maybe in a couple of weeks or whatever we come up with, and then come back to our next meeting or whatever we decide, I think we will be a little bit more together, because right now I just feel kind of a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and we're not working as a team as I see. Even though we are working as a team, I don't want to imply that we're not, but I think you know what I'm saying. There are a lot of good ideas coming from all of us, and I think we need to discuss those and rationale behind it, and then come up with what we want. Okay, and put that in the RFP. So that's where I am.
So,
Chair.
yeah, no, and so one of the things that, you know, it's, you know, how do we define we? You know, is it this board, or is it the city of Boynton Beach, and, you know, including our neighbors? And so for me, it's kind of like having a survey before just a workshop, so that everybody who's not being able to attend the workshop can get their input, and we can tally the votes similar to what the MLK committee did to determine exactly what they wanted to do. That's kind of where I'd like to give direction to staff to help develop a survey with different options that we can have for the RFP, and that we kind of make any changes next meeting so that we issue the survey and hopefully get the results back for our March meeting.
Board Chair, can I ask, if you don't mind, this property is essentially, you know, planned for a mixed use project of some sort, right? That's its designation in the CRA plan and in the city's plan or vision that supports that. So as far as the survey itself goes, the only thing it can be is what it can be. Is the survey to produce additional ideas that are outside of the allowable development potential, or is it to find out if people are in favor of its current development potential as a mixed-use project?
So currently it is our property and we could build something on it if we wanted to. However, we realize that that's not really what we want to do. However, we can create requirements that certain things must be built into the project. You know, we've heard some people say that it should be more than 4 stories. So that's kind of where, you know, having the community really get involved and give us a survey of what they want. You know, for example, you know, we had a survey regarding dogs on the beach, and it overwhelmingly was in favor of having dogs on the beach. And however, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board didn't want it, the Parks and Rec staff didn't want it, but it was something that the people wanted. And so that's kind of where I don't think having a survey, and I do believe that the CRA board can help put input into it to really find out what the city and our residents want to go to in this project, not what a developer wants to build to maximize profits. The other aspect of it is that, you know, does the CRA board want to try to land bank some of the adjacent property owners by trying to get options to buy at a certain price? And so that's kind of where I'm at, is that, you know, there's a lot more information that I would need before I'd feel comfortable issuing an RFP. One is the, you know, really the involvement of the community, what they would want in their downtown location. To, you know, getting to any adjacent property owners included in this project ahead of time, similar to what we saw with Legacy, because the fact that they got all those property owners together is how they were able to get that project to move forward. And third is, you know, regards to the county and transportation, because some people are going to be upset that there's new development and they think traffic is going to get worse. And unless we have other multimodal options of transportation besides automobile, traffic may get worse. So that's the reason why, and my statements. And I know I've taken kind of control of this, so I'm going to let the other board members speak now.
Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure, and I think this is piggybacking on the executive director's comments, that if we were to move forward with some sort of survey, that the survey would have to be crafted with the foundation being the current zoning and land use and what was envisioned in the CRA consolidated plan. I'm open to public input, and I want to have as much you know, of their considerations taken as possible, but I just want to make sure that I'm on the record. I'm not in support of anything that might lead to the belief that this is going to be anything other than what it fundamentally has to be, which is a mixed use project as was envisioned by the consolidated plan and all the efforts that led up to that vote when some of us stepped on the board about 4 years ago. So I wouldn't oppose the survey, but I just need to be clear that I don't support a survey that would lend itself to suggesting that this should be rezoned or dezoned in contrast to everything that we've planned for. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else on the board? Board Member Romulus?
No, I don't have any additional comments to what's being said right now. Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Board Member Katz, that this is, I don't know if it's currently zoned mixed use, but I do agree with you that whatever project that comes in is going to be mixed use. The question is that, and it's, you know, it's, I think the future land use is mixed use core with the mixed use high zoning capability. And I'm not saying that it can't be that. It's just there's a lot of different options available that I want to have the community involved to saying what type of mixed use project that they would want to have here. For example, you know, if a grocery store is important, you know, how much is the CRA going to have to incentivize a developer to get a grocery store? If additional parking's included, how much are we going to incentivize? You know, we can give away the land for free, or we can require TIF that they say, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars over 8 to 10 years after completion of the project, but you have to front so many parking spaces or help so many businesses or have reduced or subsidized housing. So that's kind of where I'm at, is that do we want to, you know, have this as subsidized housing location for a certain amount of its rental units? You know, do we want to make sure that there is office space here? And how are we going to subsidize that office space to make sure it's constructed? So that's kind of where having all of those options available, I think with the mixed use project, is something that could be in the survey.
Executive Director would like to say something, or Chair.
Yep. Michael?
Yes, sir. Board Chair and board members, I appreciate the discussion that's occurred so far, and I appreciate the board chair introducing the item. One of the things that in a typical flow, as you know, of RFP formation, is that the board would, you know, set some criteria or some parameters for the development community to respond to and know what to respond to. And this goes for everything from the Saracens Park to the Ocean Breeze West and Ocean Breeze East and MLK corridor. You know, in the end, you have these kind of items, 5 or 6 items of importance, Cottage District, that are meaningful and important for the CRA board to relay to the development community and help the development community respond to your requests for these particular elements of what the property is intended to be. And one of the things that has been lacking since August, and it's January, right? So we received letters of interest all the time period from August until the last one on the 30th of November, of all these different individual companies, development teams that want to do something with this property. All of those somethings are very consistent with what is it intended to be, minus any direction from the board itself, from the company that owns it, as even just in a roundabout way, what it is we would like to see. Would we like to see, as you mentioned, workforce housing? Would we like to see a larger park? Would you like to see consideration for a future rail station in your design? Would you like to pay for additional parking? Would you like to create a number of other things that the development community would then design their project or propose their project to incorporate those things in it? And if it takes another 3 or 4 months to do that, or if it takes another month to do that, the intent of these meetings and this evening was to try to pull out from the board, if you want to. It's certainly your direction is where we go. But if you're going to do a survey or ask the public what they want, it might be helpful for them to know what you're considering, and then you're generating a response based on where it is we think, based on, you know, yourselves as a CRA board and your knowledge of the development in your community. These are the things that we think are important to the project site. Do you all think, as a community, if you want their input, do you think these things are also important to the site? Rather than leaving it so open that you're getting input on everything from dog parks to water parks to nothing at all. You don't have to do anything with the property, but if you are going to solicit time and energy from developers in anywhere in the future, those types of things I think are as important from the 5 of you as they are from the community, the county, the city commission, or anyone else, because ultimately I think it's the purpose of the CRA to establish those parameters to give other people the opportunity to have input on that. And we've now gone through so many CRA board meetings with this item on it, and the delay of the 90-day letter of interest window or the notice window, and really out of all that time, we still don't have any specifics from the CRA board that we could write down in a term sheet to even begin to discuss how an RFP would look and how you would request that. So I just wanted to get that out. If it's the intent of the board to wait and formulate that in the future and in the future meetings and months, that's great. I think the development teams that have responded and are waiting for whether or not you're going to discuss an RFP release or not discuss an RFP release, it might be helpful for them to not expend any more money or time or energy if the intent is, you know, to do this 3 or 4 months from now. At least they have an idea. And I know there's other parties that are soliciting your input and discussions with you that aren't part of this group of 5. So there may be even more visions that you are aware of that people want to do. But without knowing really what you all want to do, even a little bit, it's just very difficult, I think, for the community to respond and for developers to respond. So I just wanted to leave with you that thought. So we are always will follow what direction you want to give us, and we will take this in any direction with regard to input that you want. But I just felt like I needed to put that out there for you as your director.
Thank you, Michael. And yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, is that I'm not comfortable issuing an RFP within 90 days. That there's still a lot more discussion that I think Board Member Hay said, having the workshop, whether we do it at one of our meetings or not. Because the fact is that we only have one we've got about the 2 acres of property there, but there are adjacent property owners. There's still ongoing negotiations with the 209 North Federal. There are the Oyer properties. There's Ocean Mart. There's Miller Land Planning. And so the fact is, I think as the CRA, we should try to make the property as big as possible before we issue an RFP, and see if we can't land bank any of the adjacent property owners first before issuing the RFP.
Chair,
Yes.
a lot's been said, and so I need to step back a little bit. Number one, I agree with Board Member Hay. I am in favor of having this workshop. I also agree with you, Chair, that public input is good. I'm open to a public survey given the conditions that's already been mentioned. All right. Now, in the past, I have said that our situation is a good problem. We have plenty of interest, finally. So here's my concern. You know, I want to get this right, but I also, knowing how long the RFP process is and all of that, I don't want to fall into the trap, which is the argument usually made for not doing an RFP in the first place, that this drags out so long, right, that people start walking away. And so that's just, that's what's happening in my mind, and that's my concern. And so if we can schedule the survey as quickly as possible, we have that workshop, or alternatively, perhaps because my understanding is with this RFP, we're only setting the broad picture. We're not specifying paint color and the style. We are just specifying the broad elements. I think that's how it's written in the agenda, that identifying key elements and desired outcomes. And so we also have to hear what the market will allow, right? Because we can ask for all sorts of things, and then maybe nobody will be able to build that. And so whether we have public input pre-workshop, or perhaps after, once we have all proposals submitted, and then the public can weigh on the various proposals and the merits of all the RFP submissions. But bottom line, I like the workshop idea. I thought we were going to have that tonight. I wasn't sure what the plan was. Do we spend 30 minutes talking, and if we exceed 30 minutes, we then move to a workshop? But I do want to have that as quickly as possible, because again, these are just, unless I'm mistaken, what we're doing with an RFP. But my understanding is it's just the broad elements, and there's plenty of time to work out the details. So I'll leave my comments there for now.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from any of the members of the board?
Chair, I don't really have anything more to add in addition to all the things that have been said. I simply just, I agree.
And so I do need a little bit of clarification. You agree to moving forward with a discussion at next meeting and hopefully have a survey being able to be put out at that time?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think there's been a lot of discussion, which proves that I don't think we're necessarily ready to, jump right into this, to designing the RFP. I think it's good for us to just have some good time to have a workshop, sit down, discuss it, go in further detail. But to reemphasize and kind of circle back to the first point that was made by Board Member Katz, keeping that in mind, that at the end of the day, we still have a certain vision in mind of what was originally created. But I think we can definitely still have a discussion around how we can really kind of pinpoint that vision and make it become a reality.
Chair,
Yes.
I want to say this in the right way. Mr. Simon is right. I mean, it has been many months. And to say that we're still not ready is a little concerning. I'm not sure what it is that we are waiting on. I don't know what, somebody could, but you did mention the survey, so that's what we're waiting on, and I agree with that.
The aspect that we're waiting on is that it's trying to get the other properties, I think, involved into the project. It's kind of like without the Bingham's property for Legacy, it wouldn't be the same. And so the reason why you had such a project like Legacy is because the property owners agreed to it. And whether the CRA needs to put funding in for the RFP because the property owners want above market value or appraised value, that's something that we would have to discuss as well. We did that for the MLK corridor, where there was one property that was in the middle that they were going to build a parking lot around. And we decided that, hey, we need to put that extra 100,000 in so that it becomes a complete project. And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's kind of like the Cottage district that took multiple years. And the aspect of the 115 is that it was in August that it first became not used by the city and available, I guess, for the demolition. And that's kind of where we're going to have a parking lot on it soon because it's going to be created in the next few months. And so it's kind of like, let's see what the parking lot does for the downtown so that we know, hey, do we need to have these 150 plus spots, or is something like 100 spots okay?
So, Chair, so I understand that. So let me just say, Mike, the question that I alluded to earlier was that if that's the case, if we are trying to, land bank, as you mentioned, if that's the direction of this board, how long do we have until these developers start walking away? Because what's that saying? We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot, right? We have this good situation. I want to get the best out of it, but then if as I've already said it, I just don't want to lose this opportunity.
I don't think there's a shortage of developers who want to build. Was it a half mile from the ocean?
Approximately.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where this is a prime location, Ocean Avenue Federal, that we as the government or quasi-government organization may sell we're not trying to make a profit, develop it ourselves. We're looking for a partner. And I think once we do issue an RFP, we will have a lot of different people. The reason why we got so many letters of intent is because similar to the Knuckles property is that the first offer was kind of low, and we didn't realize how low it was until we finally got the appraisal done. And so that's kind of where my theory is that let's try to get as much information we can for the future of the city, try to make this project as big and best as possible. And it's something that the community wants to have.
Right. All points I'm in agreement with. I think we're all in agreement with that.
And so, no, I'm happy that we're going to have a discussion next meeting, that we're going to try, move forward to get the community input that the DBC, BBB is going to have a little bit more involvement with this project. And that's kind of where it is that, you know, the 6 months that, you know, we're kind of in from August, or not, you know, is that 5 months from August to now, it's a short time frame, I think. Seeing that we're only going to have one opportunity for decades.
Executive Director.
Board Chair, I just want again for the board, for the record and from the position that I'm sitting in, you know that we talked about this with the other two properties. There is no urgency on the part of the CRA to make a decision or to tell the developer what you want. I want to be clear that's not what I'm trying to generate this evening. And the fact that you've received unsolicited letters of interest have absolutely zero bearing on any kind of time frame or obligation on the CRA to select anyone or to discuss it. You could decide, hey, we're going to have a parking lot, the building's down, we're just going to wait, and that's fine. I really, just to solicit what's happened this evening and more discussion about your desires for the future development. That's great. But again, there is no rush other than whatever rush the market or yourselves put on the project. So thank you.
Good Chair, as the plan is survey workshop.
Workshop survey.
Workshop survey.
Yeah, so basically we're trying to figure out what we would want to have the public decide whether they want subsidized housing, whether they want a grocery store, whether they want office space, you know, parking lot, sort of aspect, you know, how important is a train station or a bus depot, that sort of mentality. And then in March, we will hopefully get the results of that survey. And I do see some hands raised from the public. Ms. Kay Baker, if Alan, can you unmute her microphone?
Yes, Mayor Grant, or excuse me, Board Chair Grant, Kay Baker's self-muted at this point. Her microphone is. So she'll need to unmute herself.
Ms. Baker, if you'd like to speak, you have the opportunity. And you would have to just click your microphone to allow yourself to speak.
Board Chair, this is Alan again. Kay Baker's hand is not up anymore. There is a hand up from Kim Kelly, though.
Okay. Would you please unmute her microphone then?
Yeah. Hi, thank you. Kim Kelly, 529 East Ocean Avenue again, coordinator DVC, owner of Hurricane Alley. Just would like a clarification on an RFP and an RFQ. And if we do an RFQ, wouldn't that be for qualifications? It could make it quicker. It could make it kind of like weed out like the people that are really serious. I mean, that's kind of what I know. Can you clarify, please?
Michael?
Yes, sir. You would be doing a request for qualifications by itself would not speed anything up, and soliciting just qualified developers for a project that you're not sure what you want it to be would not, I think, be an efficient use of a qualification. Generally, those are done for professional services, engineering, mechanical, civil, those types of things as a request for qualifications go. Even with Town Square, proposals were submitted from qualified firms. So that's where the two proposal and qualifications go to the request. That it's trying to combine both the ability and a proposal in one. So it wouldn't, I don't think there's any benefit to that.
All right.
Okay. I mean, not really. I mean, I'm not. This isn't my wheelhouse, obviously, but I'm just wondering if, you know, you have some LOIs, and there may be some other people that are like quite interested, and like you also said, you know, incorporating, you know, the Oyers, the Ocean Mart, you know, there just may be people that may want to incorporate Ocean Avenue, and I was just wondering if they weren't in the LOI, can they still be considered if you get an RFQ rather than an RFP to make the process quicker? Because I mean, like I said, we're for redevelopment. You know, we just want, like you said, this discussion, and I think this is really important. And I also agree with Mike that you don't want to also make this another year. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm on both sides. So I'm just trying to get a clarification.
So
I mean,
Kim, the question is, you know, kind of request for proposal is that the qualifications are included with the project that they would like to build, whereas request for qualifications is kind of getting a, like it states, qualifications, and that it's going to be a joint venture of what the project is going to be built, where there might be multiple renderings similar to the Town Square project that was an RFQ, where it has changed over time from its original design. So,
but isn't an RFP, if it's so rigid, it doesn't allow for discretion?
no,
You know what I'm
it's because it's owned by the CRA. You know, we have the ability to do what we want with the property. And so if there's some changes for an RFP that we want, that the developer doesn't want to make, we have the option of not going with that developer.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. You know, just like being like the coordinator of the DVC, you know, I just like to get more, you know, better educated, I guess, what you say. So, you know, I don't want to misspeak at any meeting or anything. So thank you for that. And yeah, I think you have a lot of great things to discuss, and good luck, I guess. But thanks.
Thank you. All right. So Michael, do you have enough direction for next meeting?
I'm sorry, Board Chair, we've lost visual on the board. We can hear you, but I can't see you. I'm sorry. I was trying to.
So yeah, I may have exited out because I was just keeps on staring at me, and I didn't really want to do that anymore. So
that's okay. That's fine. I just want to make sure it wasn't our computer. I'm sorry.
I'm still up on the screen here, but it may have I've deleted the ability for the camera for the go-to webinar.
Very good. What was the question, sir? I'm sorry. I apologize.
So the question that I had was, do you have enough direction for next meeting in regards to having a workshop and possible things for a survey to be issued?
I have enough for the survey, and as far as a workshop goes, you know, from a board or a commission style workshop where you have to publicly notice it, the intent of holding a discussion at a meeting would mean you wouldn't need a separate and qualified workshop. When you're using the term workshop, are you using it as I was this evening, or do you want to have a separate meeting outside of your regular board meeting called a workshop?
When you say workshop, do you mean it's just something that we would have at the beginning of the meeting so that we would have the most participation from the public? Or do you mean it's a separate meeting?
We could have it either way. We could have play an hour before our meeting, or we could have a separate workshop in order to discuss it. So like maybe a week before our meeting, that you know. So I guess what I hear board chair you're saying is to have the send the survey out to the community first, and then we have a workshop to discuss that. Is that what you're saying?
That's kind of what I'm saying. I know that, you know, in years past, we've had certain workshops over at the Sims Center, or, you know, reaching out to the community. I think, you know, this is something that, you know, trying to invite the community to our chambers. The question is that it's going to be a virtual workshop. And so, it's kind of, my theory is that we do have the time all together to spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour discussing it at our regular CRA meeting, because that's what we're doing right now. And that way we can, create the survey that details that it's going to be a mixed use project, and what is it that we want to have, what are the options, and what is the CRA board willing to do to incentivize the developer to build what we want them to build. I don't think there's any issue of a developer wanting to build multifamily in this downtown area. The issue then becomes is that regarding the commercial, the retail, office space, the additional parking for adjacent property owners or business owners, all of the side aspects of this. And do we want to coordinate with, the FEC or Brightline to hopefully be in the works of a commuter rail? I know that this Thursday, Palm Beach County is having a mobility summit. The problem with Palm Beach County is that they don't have specific funding for commuter rail, unlike Broward and Miami-Dade. And so some commuter rail is likely to be 5 to 10 years away in Palm Beach County before funding is available to start the conversation. So it's up to the board to see what they want to do with this project. I believe, what I hear from the community is that they don't just want a majority multifamily project built here. And if that's the case, how do we get the project that we want?
Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. So my personal position on this is I think that as long as the executive director says that this is possible, to have this discussion as part of the next CRA meeting, and to clear the agenda of anything non-essential or time sensitive to next meeting. That way we don't have to have a separate meeting, and we can prepare for this item to be, the bulk of the meeting, and kind of pull the pin and finally make some commitments to it, which I can hear in the executive director's voice. I know, and I agree with him, that we haven't given them enough information to know where we stand, and I think it is time for that. So I'd be in favor, if the executive director is capable of doing it, of making the next CRA, regularly scheduled CRA board meeting, clear of anything that's not essential for next meeting, so that this can dominate the meeting and it can act as a workshop within the meeting, so we can take votes and so forth.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds good to me. Mike?
I think I know we can accommodate the request for the meeting and the suggestion just made. We would be on a very tight time frame for a survey. We would probably have a week. The public would have about a week to 8 days to get back to us, to get it to you. And if you don't want it to go to CRAB, then it would just come to you, and we would have the results back that we're able to obtain, for your discussion. And you may decide that you want to continue the discussion into the next meeting as well if you don't have enough responses. But I think from a meeting amongst the board, that would be very doable to do in February. A survey with responses, like I said, you're just limited on time, but you'll get back as many as we get back, and we'll certainly have the involvement and input of the business, downtown business group, and anybody else that has an opinion that could be solicited during the meeting, as you suggested, or in email. So I will work hard to get that done. And if you're not satisfied with the results of that from the input standpoint of the public, then we can go from there into the next meeting.
So, Michael, will you be able to have a draft survey for the CRAB board's meeting in February?
Not if you want the survey released for results back to you by the February meeting.
The question is the draft survey for the CRAB board meeting in February.
I'm sorry, the results to give to them. Okay.
So, no.
No, just
So-
the questions to get to them.
When is the
Yes,
crab
if
board?
you don't want it released before the crab meeting, yes, I can give it to them.
No, you're not listening. So are you going to have the draft survey available for the crab board meeting?
For them to take the survey?
No?
Review.
Are you going to be able, yeah, if they want to take it,
You're
that's
asking
fine.
me if I have a draft
know
ready
if they're
for
gonna
them.
be
Well, the
able
survey should already
the
be out
draft
if you want the
survey.
results back.
I don't want the results. I just want to know that they can see the meeting and have input before our meeting in February.
Yes, the crab board will meet before your meeting in February.
And they will be able to see the draft survey and make any adjustments.
Yes, sir. They can have input. They'll take the survey. Yes.
Okay, they don't have to take the survey because it may change, but
Well,
that's.
Chair,
Yes.
I think that the confusion is that we can't ask the executive director to issue. I'm in favor of issuing the survey.
I'm not asking for the issuance. I'm just saying a draft survey for February 4th so that the crab board can look at it and give us a recommendation.
Right. So my position is my personal position is that I would like the results of the survey for our February meeting. So if I don't believe we need to assign the review of the survey to the crab board personally.
So you're saying you don't want to make any changes to the survey in February?
I'm saying I would like the survey to be issued so that in our February meeting, we as a CRA board can discuss and begin to move forward with that. That's my position. We haven't assigned this to the crab board, and I don't believe, given the robust discussions already had and what will precipitate in the next meeting, that we need to have that before the crab board. If they would like to participate by being attendees of our CRA meeting, I think that would be fantastic, but we're soliciting public input. So the hundreds or thousand responses from the community, to me, will speak volumes versus the limited input of 7 members on the crab. I would just like to see the survey completed and move forward for
Board
next
Member
meeting.
Katz, my question is, when is the survey going to be released?
I believe the executive director said that they'd be under a time crunch, but they could probably get it out in about 2 to 3 weeks so that the public would have 8 to 10 days to respond. Is that what you said, executive director, or was I mistaken?
Yes, board members, let me be clear. If you want, the initial discussion was that you wanted I had interpreted the conversation as that you wanted the input from the public available for you to add to your discussion at the February meeting. If you would like the survey to be prepared for you and you review the survey at your meeting in February before it's released to the public, I can do that. If you want us to release a survey, on Monday and try to get results back from the public before your meeting in February, you need to decide whether you want to vote on the survey before it's
I
released.
didn't expect staff to try to issue a survey without us reviewing it and then get us the results within the next month. I was expecting, that a draft survey be issued. The crab board can review it, make any recommendations that, after our February 8th meeting, that we could issue it that Friday or of any sort of final changes, and that we would have 2 weeks to have the tally, and that the crab board can look at the tally, make recommendations, and then we can have all of that information for our March meeting. It was the time frame that was in my head, and I do apologize for not communicating. But if the board wants to truncate that and speed it up, it would be a lot to ask from the CRA staff.
Thank you, Board Chair.
Well, I think we got to keep in mind that we only have one bite at this apple, and we don't want to prolong it, but by the same token, we don't want to rush it. So Mike, in terms of what you feel comfortable with, do you feel that you could do this in a short period of time, or would you like to extend it out as the board chair just indicated for February and March?
Yes, sir. I think given the discussion this evening, it would be beneficial for staff and the public to have you bless the survey of questions before it's released so that we can make sure that it identifies what you would like to get input back from them. Since we don't have an opportunity to do that any other time than in our meeting, I think it's gonna, it would need to wait till then. We can release it after the next meeting and have the results back for your March meeting.
Okay.
And I'll ask the board that, the survey be anywhere from 5 to 10 questions, that this is not something that we want to have more than that, because I feel that the longer the survey, the less participation. And so the board is okay with 5 to 10 questions, but they could have multiple answers or a checkbox where we decide, okay, we want them only to have the top 3 or top 5, depending on the number of responses.
Chair,
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and it could be just yes or no questions as well, and so that as well. So, Michael, I'll give you some input as well that I have after the meeting, and that you'll hopefully the rest of the board will put in their input if they have 1 or 2 questions that they feel are important.
Is that something that could be done now, or where everyone can communicate that together?
I'm not ready to think of all the 3 to 4 questions that I would definitely would want to be in there.
Okay, well, it can always be amended at the next.
Absolutely. All right.
All right, Chair, I do have to ask, because of all of that, could somebody just summarize the conclusion on the timeline? So there's absolutely no confusion or misunderstandings what the plan is after all of that back and forth.
So the timeline is that on the CRA staff is going to be working on a survey of 5 to 10 questions to give a draft to the CRA advisory board on February 4th for them to come back to have an answer for us at our next meeting on February 8th. We will issue, if there's any revisions, to have them changed, and that issue that survey for 2 weeks, and so that we can get the answers back for the March CRAB meeting and to basically finalize any findings that we have in March for an RFP, RFQ.
Okay.
So similar to the timelines and guidelines, we're basically making sure we have as much information as possible before we start crafting the RFP, RFQ.
And that's the bottom line.
Yes.
Okay. And Michael, is that agree what you believe too?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Next, we will move on to consideration of First Amendment to the Phase 2 interlocal agreement for funding portions of the Town Square project.
Yes, board. The item before you right now this evening on this item is for an amendment to the existing ILA with the city for the Town Square project, and specifically the existing Exhibit A, which if it needs to be pulled up, was an exhibit that was approved as a estimate of payments and costs associated with the Town Square project in order to approve the ILA and receive funding from the CRA to begin the actual construction of the project. Since the project has been completed and CO'd and all of the elements of it, punch list and what have you, completed, we now have a schedule of payments that are being made by the city to the funding agencies in a much more, I think, accurate manner. And I think that our ILA at this amount of money annually should be more accurately reflecting what payments we are assisting making. So really, we're just replacing the previous Exhibit A with a new and more defined Exhibit A, which I'm happy to have Alan pull up if you need to see the difference between the two. It's really the city's payment schedule, and then our revised agreement. Just replacing the addendum is just to replace the exhibit.
But the numbers changed, correct?
The amount in the ILA is for a number not to exceed $3.7 million annually through 2044. What was previously in the exhibit was a sliding decreasing scale of funding that was identified as the annual amount needed from the CRA. The maximum never changed, but the flow of payments were to decrease. And now that the city has received their official payment book, their payment plan, the drastic drop in the future years of CRA assistance has created a deficit for the city, but I believe this will allow for the flexibility for them to slightly change those numbers that were previously approved. And each year they are required under the ILA to—
Michael, sorry to interrupt. I asked the numbers. The first agreement, Exhibit A, said $79,250,000. And what is the exact number in the new Exhibit A for the total payment?
I will pull that up for you. Let's see. Yuri, if you could pull up attachment 2.
I'm having problems with Novus.
Bogged down. Yeah, my Novus is not. Let's see. It is, well, the total payments that the city will be making, not that the CRA will be paying, but the obligation of the city is $92,218,768.17. We are maxed each year at $3.7 million if approved by the board, and if our budget and funding allow for us to assist them, then funding can be appropriated. So the amount has changed and gone up, but your obligation annually has not changed. It's still at 3.7. That is the maximum they can ask for each year.
Okay, I just want to double check. The question is, our current estimated payments from the CRA was $79,250,000. What is the actual payment that the CRA will make to the city?
Okay, what's 3.7 times 20? Hang on one second, I'll do the math for you very quickly.
Because your amended Exhibit A has CRA billable reimbursement payment amount totaling $92,218,000. And I want to know, was the city $13 million off for their first anticipated expenditure of what the CRA needed to pay?
Yes, but this payment schedule is not the CRA's payment schedule. This is the city's payment schedule. And,
I mean, the top line says CRA billable reimbursement payment amount. You're saying that's
exactly
not correct?
That's it. I'm so sorry. The document that is used as Exhibit A is what the city will be providing us as the evidence of the amount they are requesting. Currently, we have nothing in our agreement that connects the money we're giving to the city to the ILA. We just have what we're asked each year to spend, but it doesn't connect to what they're paying in order to ask us for the money. So I'm trying to incorporate their payment schedule into the ILA. So if the public or an auditor were interested in knowing why we're paying or what we're paying for, the ILA is more descriptive. If we need to add their payment schedule to our existing Exhibit A, thereby defining each year our payment, I'm perfectly fine with that. If the CRA board does not
You're
want.
doing an extremely poor job explaining numbers. There's three
Okay, why don't we
columns for
table it and I'll
exhibit:
do a
city
better job
hall,
next month.
schedule of periodic rent, fire station schedule of periodic rent, CRA billable reimbursement payment amount. So the first two numbers, I believe, would add up to the third number. And so that's kind of where the CRA billable reimbursement payment amount, is that third number what the CRA going to be paying? And that third
If that is
column.
requested from the city, yes. So why don't I ask the board to table this and I'll present in a different way next month?
Because, it's one thing for us to say, okay, this, our first exhibit, interlocal agreement, the total was 79,250,000. Now it's 92,218,000. Is that correct? And so the question is
It doesn't, wait, board chair, if I may, three points. Currently, your ILA, just for the reason of this evening, your current ILA says you would provide a maximum of $3,700,000 maximum for the next 20 years. That's a total of $74 million. So the confusion you're having is that this total at the bottom is what the total cost of the project is for the city is 92 million, but you're only obligated for the 74 million per the ILA on the first page of the ILA. But if you would like that more specifically defined, we absolutely revise the document and make that more clear for the board and for the public. Absolutely, no problem at all.
Yeah, because the way that this column reads is CRA billable reimbursement would mean that the CRA is responsible to reimburse the city for the 92 million. So if that's incorrect, then I would like to know what exactly the CRA needs to pay. And you say one thing regarding the interlocal agreement, and then you have an exhibit A that is different, because in year 2021-22, which it's this year, we are not paying 3.7 million. It says 3,550,000.
That's correct.
I just want,
so
all I'm doing here as the chair is to make sure that we get an answer of the anticipated money that the CRA is the exact same. Is it higher, and if how much, or is it lower, and it by how much? Because the numbers that you have, because it's the two payments, it's one, January and June are when the payments are required.
Yes, sir. And we receive a request from the city that does not exceed, but it's okay because you're asking for a defined payment and we don't have a defined payment, so we'll get a defined payment.
All right, thank you. And so
the city doesn't provide that, so we'll ask for that. Thank you.
Motion to table.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. All right. Next is the consideration of interlocal agreement with the City of Boynton Beach for the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach located at 1010 South Federal Highway. Does the city also want to table this as well? Do we have someone from the city to speak on this item?
This is Catherine Mott, City Manager.
Yes,
we don't table the item. This item is actually the first step in transferring the property from the CRA to the city. Basically, this ILA will allow for the 3 years of funding at the $250,000 per year for 3 years, for a total of $750,000. And then the step 2 will be a purchase and sale agreement that our city attorney's office is currently drafting, which will be brought to the board at a future date.
All right. And so this is just agreeing that the CRA is willing to transfer ownership and give $250,000 to help with the property. Is that correct?
To help with maintenance and future renovations or upgrades, including the bathrooms and elevator and then the ongoing maintenance for the first 3 years.
Okay, and Tara, I just want to make sure that this is an okay agreement that the CRA is not paying for maintenance of a city building.
Correct. We've reviewed it and we're okay with it because of the ultimate transfer. If you are going to make a motion to approve it, I would request that you allow some changes. We spoke with the city attorney today, and he just wants us to make it clearer in the agreement that this is an agreement to transfer the property ultimately to the city, but that will be done through a separate purchase and sale agreement. So that's in there, but we just want to make some clarification about that. So if you can, in the motion, approve those changes to make that clear, that would be great.
So that this is not the transfer of the, this is to agree to the interlocal agreement and have a future purchase and sale agreement.
Correct.
All right. And does anyone on the CRA board have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Oh. Yeah, my only comment is that I'm very excited to have a surf museum in Boynton Beach. And if so, may I have a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
I have a first
Second.
from board. I got you as the first, board member Hay.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, board member Romulus. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And then I moved item I to the tax deed discussion for new business. Moving on to new business, Dewey Park light installation. Michael?
Yes, board chair and board members, the CRA staff was asked to bring back an item that provided you with information on turning the Dewey Park holiday lighting, the typical lighting we do of the banyan trees in Dewey Park for the holidays, into a more permanent lighting project. And we've had CRA staff has identified a funding source, and has solicited an estimate from our vendor as to what the cost of that might be. I know Mercedes is also here and can take the item if she would like to, if she's available. And if our internet, yeah, my internet's gone too. So board chair, we are not able to see the Novus agenda. Would you like to read the, oh, here we go. Thank you.
I know it's not loading, FYI. So
It's,
yeah.
yeah, we don't necessarily see this one, that screen on my GoToWebinar. Right.
Sure, that's no problem at all. I'll read it to you. You had asked, you had asked us to bring you back the cost associated with a more permanent lighting of the banyan tree in Dewey Park. And the item that we've got with you, or we brought to you, provides you with two options. One option is, I'm sorry, our internet is in and out here. There we go. So you have an option for a standard LED light that is currently being used in a temporary basis. That so for the same lighting that you get, except for the holiday colored bulbs, but just all white lights of the banyan tree year round, would be a cost of purchase of $9,320. And if you buy the standard lights, you would also have to add lights every 6 months because of the growth of the tree. So that you'd have to add another $1,800 every 6 months. Option 2 provides you with a slightly more expensive strand, but it is an expandable strand, similar to like a bungee cord or a stretchy material that, as the tree grows during the year, the wires that hold the lights actually expand with the trunk. So that cost is around 11,000 and change. Can you see that? Here we go, $11,336. We have not inquired as to less lights, less trees. We just priced out pretty much exactly what we do under our normal holiday lighting in Dewey Park. I know that the public has always enjoyed it. This is not the first time that this item has come before you to leave it on a more permanent basis. So again, we're bringing it back with actual numbers this time than we had in previous years. So we're seeking direction on whether or not you want to move forward with the acquisition of the lights or our formal bidding for the lights in this current budget, or if you want to wait until next year's budget. We do have funding identified to accommodate this expense in this current year.
For me, I'm okay with the expandable lights for the 1-year warranty. And that way, yeah, it's only $200 more than the first option with rewrapping in 6 months. So I think that's something that having year round is going to be definitely advantageous, and that we'll see how long that lasts after the 1-year warranty and then make a decision. Plus, you know, this is something that we can plan for the future, because I know that the Ocean Avenue lights also need to have new maintenance to, you know, whether a tree needs to be put in again or to upgrade those lights, because it's been a while since those all have been working properly. So I'm in favor of option 2.
Chair?
Yeah.
I'm on board with option 2 as well. One-time expenses, obviously, to me, more advantageous than a recurring expense. Option 2 it is with me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like the idea of the bungee type lighting also, but one thing I want to remind everybody is that I like the concept of lights on Ocean Avenue. It sort of gives a nice appeal and brings attention to the businesses down there, and that's all good. I just happened to be driving in another city, and I noticed that the lights on the streets extended beyond the major artery. For example, in our case, going west on Ocean Avenue, I would go a little bit past Seacrest, maybe a half a block or so into the next area. That kind of concept was very appealing. It shows kind of inclusiveness of the community. The other thing is, if we go this route, then it's going to be very difficult to give a definitive answer on why not have lighting on MLK and some of the other major arteries, because this time we had the COVID-19 and we didn't have the funds. But let's be aware, next year, now it's this year, we really need to bring some lighting to the MLK corridor and maybe other areas. So I'm all for it, and a long way to say I'm for number 2.
All right. May I have a motion then?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion for option 2. I have a second motion and a second. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Item 16B.
Thank you, Board.
Thank
We'll
you.
provide you updates with how the progression of bidding and what have you before installation, you'll know what's happening before it goes up.
Okay. Item 16B, consideration of a 10-foot dedication of CRA-owned property for the Northeast 9th Avenue right-of-way.
Yes, board, this is a kind of a, I guess, a cleanup item to a project that we had started with the Northeast 3rd Street roadway project. Part of that, if you remember, with the property going that we own on between Northeast 9th Avenue and Northeast 3rd Street, we're going to the Community Caring Center in a project that has since terminated. But part of the roadway project was to expand the width of the existing Northeast 9th Avenue to accommodate redevelopment and clean up the street and provide for sidewalks and on-street parking and other things. So even though the project is terminated, as did the roadway project, we would still like to continue forward at this point and dedicate the 10 feet needed from the CRA-owned property on the north side of 9th to the city. So it's available to them as roadway improvements occur on 9th. They would already own the property and could already design it into the project.
May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to discussion and consideration of Palm Beach County land available for sale for the vacant lot located at 545 Northwest 11th Avenue.
Yes, Board Chair. This particular property is on the Palm Beach County land available list, not part of the tax deed sale, and is available for a straight out purchase, not through an auction. The tax deed amount for a straight acquisition would be $21,914.95. The property appraiser, Palm Beach County property appraiser, has it valued at $30,000. If you would like to pull up attachment 1 yourselves, or if Yuri would like to, you can locate the property. This would be on North Seacrest Boulevard, west on Northwest 11th Avenue. The property would be behind, somewhat behind, west of the Denson Pool and Saracens Park. The location map is attachment 1.
Right. I'd like to move forward with the purchase. As it's been a vacant lot for a while, the CRA can help remove any liens on it and make it a buildable lot for the future.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right.
Chair,
Yes.
may I just make a broad question? Obviously, the purpose of these acquisitions is for the development of affordable housing. So if somebody could just explain to me, if somebody could educate, my concern is that it seems like we're kind of haphazardly purchasing them a little bit here, a little bit there. Is there a broader strategy that I'm not aware of? Or are we simply just, we take what we can, what is available? Or is it to, are we creating a block, or are we just taking what we can?
This is in the heart of Boynton Beach District. What we're trying to do is that a tax deed, or for example, lands available for sale, or is that these are properties that technically nobody wants because they're not paying their taxes. And rather than the city incurring additional costs of maintenance trying to do that, adding additional liens, the CRA can purchase them, I believe, for below market value. And that way it is something that we can do to, I don't know if you want to be posting that all up. All right. To help improve the neighborhood, because a house is much better than a vacant lot. So we're not actively seeking the real estate market of for-profit residential or arm's length transaction residential properties, single family homes. However, this is something where we see that there's a vacant lot. For example, the land's available for sale. It means that nobody wanted to bid on it at the tax deed auction.
Right. So, Chair, I understand that. I appreciate that. It's just my understanding that if we want something to be redeveloped, a developer of whatever kind typically would need multiple parcels to have a project that would be economically feasible. Usually that's my understanding, that they need multiple parcels in some sort of close proximity to one another. But it seems like here we're kind of just doing it here and there. And I get the general direction, I do. But does this mean we're holding on to these properties for a significant amount of time?
No.
Until something can happen?
Normally, we get a letter of intent from the heart of Habitat for Humanity.
And so besides Habitat for Humanity, is there anybody, other developers that go after these single parcels?
Anyone can. However, Habitat for Humanity is normally the first in time. Nobody responds within the 30 days, and they get it for affordable housing.
All right.
So the aspect of it is that I think it was on Northwest 6th Avenue. There was a vacant lot there next to one of our a city-owned property that they're saying, hey, we bought it for maybe $10,000, gave it to them, and then they are building a house there. So rather than having a vacant lot that nobody was maintaining, we are helping to improve the neighborhood by making sure that these single family lots have single family homes on them and that they're being maintained.
All right. So I guess my question now is, now that we know that it's essentially just Habitat, do we know in advance that they're even interested in redeveloping these spaces?
Yes.
All right. These particular lots, I mean, do we have these conversations in advance? This property, so we acquired that.
No, this is kind of.
I just don't want to hold on to things and we're paying and we're paying and we're paying.
No.
And then we're waiting for a long time for something to be redeveloped.
No. Pretty much every time we got a single family residence within the heart of Boynton Beach, we have given it away or sold it for nominal for a workforce housing of affordable housings.
All right.
So this is something that I believe has added a lot of value. I think we've done it maybe 5 times, maybe at most. And that's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Chair. I really do appreciate that clarification. I just want to make sure that the actions we're taking is part of a broader strategy and not haphazard.
No, the strategy is that we're removing slum and blight from the neighborhood.
Right. Knowing that we've got people like Habitat on the other side.
Correct. The next is number 16D, discussion and consideration of a tax deed sale for the vacant lot located at 104 Northwest 5th Avenue.
Yes, board and board members, this property is located at 104 Northwest 5th Avenue. It did have a single family residence on it that was had caught fire and was derelict. The city moved to tear down the building, so now it is a vacant lot. And there is an attachment in the map for you to look up on attachment 2 on your Novus agenda. Would provide you with the location map. It is at the corner of Seacrest Boulevard, North Seacrest, and Northwest 5th Avenue. It is a buildable lot and can accommodate a new single family home. The what in our summary, we have an update as of today that these numbers with regard to the current tax lien, the current tax lien now is $15,042.22. On your summary, agenda summary, the number is $12,615. So it has increased roughly just under $3,000. There are liens that the city has on the property that some of which we would petition to have reduced and others we will be forced to pay. You'll see on the agenda cover that we've tried to separate them or identify which must be paid and which are potentially lien reduction liens. And those are the majority. The ones that the city may work with and reduce are very large liens. The liens that we would have to pay total $8,060. So as you know from previous tax deed sales, there's a start bid, which is now $15,042.27. We do have $8,000 worth of liens to pay the city, which brings the total investment, if we were to purchase it without anyone else competing, would be roughly $23,200. The action of the board on these tax deed sales is to, one, determine do you want to attempt to purchase it via the tax deed auction, and then two, to establish a maximum bid at which the CRA would stop in the computer system. We would attach a high bid and it would stop at that level based on the board's direction. The property appraised at least the property appraiser is Palm Beach County tax appraiser's website shows 28.5. Based on other appraisals we have for single family lots, this is in definite range within that market of 27 to 32,000 roughly for vacant single family in the heart of Boynton. So we're just looking for direction again. Is this a property you would like to try to purchase, and if so, what would your maximum bid be?
I propose the 50,000 as before. It seems that 514 Northwest 11th Avenue, the taxes were paid, and so now it's no longer on the tax deed available for sale. And same with 521 North Federal Highway. Basically, we want to make sure that that someone who has money to move forward with this, and anything that we do pay towards this property is going to be paid towards the city's municipal lien, as the taxes are not cleared, unlike all private liens.
Well, Chair, can I ask for clarification? You mentioned two other properties that you said were just redeemed. Are you on the website now?
Yes. The clerk and comptroller's tax deed auction calendar shows that only this property is still listed.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. Because I did the updates.
Yeah, we did the update at 5 o'clock, so it must have been delayed. So thank you.
So that's kind of it, is that if we can get it for any, having the max bid doesn't mean that we're paying 50,000. It's just saying that we're saying we're not going to go over it. And it seems that whoever bid more than the 50,000, they lost their deposit on for not paying for it. And that meant that whoever owned the property was able to pay the tax certificates to get that property back. So the way that tax deed works is that you're required to put it a minimum of a 5% deposit of your max bid. So if you put in $5,000, that means you can bid up to $100,000. So I would need a motion for a $50,000 max bid.
So moved.
Second. All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And items E and 16I or 15I are moot as they have been redeemed and no longer on the tax deed calendar. And so that's it. Is there any further discussion regarding future agenda?
Yes, Chair. I do want to make sure that the Sarah Sims Park Amphitheater plans is on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay. So that's 17C, and you want to discuss that at next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And also I'd like to put on the future agenda is the Ocean Avenue lights along the sidewalk. There are some dead trees there. Do we want to replace the trees, and if so, how much? And I'd like to get the cost associated with that.
Okay, very good.
And so there's no objection to that. We'll put
No
that.
objection.
And so it doesn't have to be for next meeting, but sometime before summer and the rainy season to help the trees. All right. Seeing no more further comments or questions, I'll have a motion for adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right, meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, board. Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank
Happy
you.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, yeah. You're running for US.